some way, but they need to claim some big games against the grain if they're going to do that. And today gives them that opportunity against a Sydney side that I thought played pretty well against Collingwood last week, but is still not fully sure of themselves. And the Dockers are coming off that big win over Hawthorn. Maybe that will give them some confidence to spark things.
Freo in their famous purple today away, and team news here. No late changes for either side. Nat Fyfe, the former skipper who was the sub last week, is the sub again this week. They're 23 or 22 apart from that as named for the Dockers. Meanwhile for the Sydney Swans, Tom Hickey comes back in, as does Will Gould for his third game of his career. Out goes Peter Adams with an arm injury, Tom McCartan with concussion symptoms, and Mark Sheether was to be omitted, but he's retained in the 23 as the Swans sub today. And Dane Rampy told us pre-game, and welcome by the way for those listening on ABC radio throughout WA. Dane Rampy was our pre-game guest, the injured Swans co-captain, mentioning that the Swans still have belief in their system. Not the only team to have been beaten in the second half by Collingwood, of course, over the past couple of years, but they have dropped 3 in a row, the Sydney Swans, and a chance to turn things around at home here today. One of these sides will be 3 and 6, the other 4 and 5. Sitting just outside the top 8, these two sides in this round 9 fixture. Our experts are former Swan and Blue, Jason Saddington. G'day, Sado.
Hey, g'day, Spriggy. G'day, Garbs. How are we, gents? We're going well?
Going pretty well. Freo out there warming up, and the Sydney Swans make their way out. Led out by Tom Papley for his 150th game. Luke Parker, the skipper, alongside him, as well as Callum Mills, the other co-captain. I mentioned Dane Rampy not playing, of course. But Tom Papley... as I welcome Callum Sinclair, a recent former Swan and former Eagle as well. You played with Tom Papley. His teammates sing his praises as being the barometer or energiser of this Sydney Swans side. He gets his milestone game today.
No, he certainly does. And I think the Swans are very good at bringing guys off their rookie list. Like, he was a rookie, and it's just amazing how he was drafted the same year I got traded into the club. But it is amazing to think that no one actually took him in the national draft. So he's come in. I do remember when he first trained in the pre-season, it was literally like he'd been at the club 10 years. He was so energised. And look, he's not the best athlete at the club. He hasn't got the best tank, but what he has done, the only thing he focuses on is his forward craft. And when he's similar to probably Buddy Franklin. He might have a quiet quarter or a quiet game, but he can have a moment that can change the game. Those guys are hard to find, and they're worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, he's match winner. Now, they're players that are hard to find and bring into your footy clubs, and it's exactly right. You can be quiet for 3 quarters, Papley, but he's someone that will pop up in the last quarter and win you a game of footy. He's an absolute star, and he's brilliant to watch. And if you're a fan of other teams, generally he's one of the players that maybe you don't like, a la a Toby Green for the Giants, but you've got to respect he's an unbelievably good footballer.
And probably something that he hasn't get quite noticed for. He's actually a fantastic clearance player. He hasn't got the biggest tank for a midfielder, but you do notice that when they've lost a few clearances, particularly out of the centre bounce, John Longmire has no hesitation throwing him into the centre, and he has an impact straight away. So he has those 5 or 6 minute bursts a game, and he's very effective doing that.
There's a 150 game player. Buddy's nearing 350. Of course, he's been in the news through the week through no fault of his in the wake of that game against Collingwood last Sunday. I want to focus on the players on that sort of around the 50 game mark. So Chad Warner is one of them. It's his 48th game today. Of course, he's a Freo lad himself, taken from East Fremantle, and one of the key players for the Sydney Swans. But also out there, Luke Jackson, Caleb Sarong and Hayden Young are all taken in that same draft in 2019 in the top 8 picks of that year. So they're facing off each other today. Really important players for all those sides. That's sort of just, you look at that sort of around the 40 to 50, 60 game mark, and that's where I'm focused on today for either of these two sides as to whether they can lift their team into a potential sort of, prospective finals berth, albeit approaching the midway mark of the season.
And that's probably exciting, but maybe also somewhat of a concern for both teams. If you're relying on these under 50 game players to be the ones to stand up and win you a game of footy, that's a massive test and a challenge. I mean, they're all outstanding players with huge futures, and they're already stars of the competition, but it's a lot of weight on the shoulders of under 50 game players.
And they're still so young that they're probably still mummers' boys. The Sydney Swans mothers were lining up as the players ran out, and because it's Mother's Day tomorrow, Chad Warner ran through the banner and then had to run back to give his mum a hug and then run back out there. So that was nice seeing the players' mothers lining up as they ran out onto the SCG ahead of Mother's Day tomorrow. But yes, you mentioned those players who were all part of that 2019 draft. Chad Warner a steal at pick 39. Will Gould, pick 26 in the 2019 draft. So the Swans have persisted with him. Big day for him today.
To be honest, I personally think he should have played senior footy a lot earlier. He was absolutely dominant for the last probably 18 months in the VFL. But the reality was, Paddy McCartan was going pretty well. Dane Rampy's Dane Rampy. Tom McCartan is obviously the number one. He takes the number one forward every single week. You know, where are you going to fit him in? So he has his opportunity. But back on those guys who are in that 50-game mark, both these teams last year, they have put huge expectations on themselves coming into this season. And to be quite honest, I'm just going through the list now. They're the players that you need improvement from every single season to be, you know, progressing into finals each year. And I think it's probably fair to say that those guys probably haven't improved as much this year as probably what you would have liked. Yes, injury, form and things like that. But the reality is they're the engine room of the group, and you do need those guys improving every single year.
Just on Freo. So last week against the Hawks, 69-point winners, same team this week, same 23. It was Hawthorn though. So, look, their ball movement was far better, of course. They're using handball a bit more and getting some slicker sort of transition going the Fremantle football side. But this is a much more difficult task. Just to sort of contextualise historically here, they've not beaten the Swans since round 17, 2011, at this venue at least. Only Luke Parker and Nat Fyfe from Maine, from either of those two sides. In the intervening years, they had their very first ever draw here, round 8, 2013. They've only had two draws, I think, in their history, one against Swans and one against Richmond. So it's not been a happy hunting ground for them, and it's a massive game today. But they did show improvement last week against the Hawks.
Well, they did, and I mean, like you say, Hawthorn are a hard team to read. So what you take out of that game last week for Freo is hard to tell, and I guess we'll see today. But I mean, it's a massive confidence boost for them. You know, they can step away and go, we got a lot of things right. You know, give some confidence to the mids and the forwards, and even your half backs intercept a little bit to get on top and win their position. So, I mean, they're in the best spot possible. Freo come in here this weekend, off a really big win to maybe jolt them against a team, the Swans at the SCG, where they haven't had the success, like you said, Spriggy, for a very, very, very long time. But if they're ever going to have a chance, I think it's today.
Cal, you're our resident big man. What did you see from Luke Jackson last week and the way he's working with Sean Darcy? Is he understanding his role a bit better at Fremantle?
I think it'll do wonders for his confidence last week. And look, I know we've talked about the comments, you know, it's just Hawthorn, but you can only play who you're playing. As a young developing forward, you do need those games because, you know, the pressure builds up on you week by week, and then you probably start to have a little bit of self-doubt, particularly being paid, being on the contract he is. It'll do wonders for his confidence. I was going to say, though, on probably Freo's ball movement last week, they're probably going to have to be very careful trying to do that here at the SCG. A lot more compact compared to Optus Stadium last week. Swans are very good in terms of opposition analysis. We know how much they work on the defensive side of their game. They're going to look to press and close if they do decide to go into that handball game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, it's probably going to come down to can the Freo forwards get on top. So their game style is going to be important, and whether it does come through here at the SCG, like you mentioned, Cal, because with a depleted Swans backline, the Freo forwards, Jackson, Walters, those types need to get on top.
I mentioned the Red Kite charity partnership, which the Swans have had for, I think, 22 years now, assisting families that are dealing with childhood cancer. And this is the highlight every year, is they have the Red Kite kids draw the player profiles. So they sort of sketch the players, and that's flashed up on the big screen as part of their introduction, not just the standard sort of headshot from the start of the year. It's a drawn picture of the Sydney Swans team as part of Red Kite Day, and the players, and the kids are also reading out the player's name, which is just a little wholesome thing as well, and great work the Swans are doing with Red Kite.
We've probably lost sight of this a little bit because of all the talk around Buddy Franklin in relation to other matters. 3 goals off Doug Wade, 4th all time. Doug Wade on 1,057, Buddy Franklin 1,054. He's got a chance to level him today, maybe go past him. So another milestone for Lance Franklin looming in what is his 347th game of AFL football.
No, it certainly is. And, mate, I had the privilege of obviously playing next to Lance for a number of years, and there's no one like him. I think it's fair to say he'll probably go. I'm not sure what the actual the process is. He should go into legend status pretty quickly. I'm not sure how that kind of works, but you know, and probably in light of last week with what happened at the MCG, we don't need to probably over talk this too much, but I just hope that's not the last time we see him at the MCG. It's been a ground where he's brought so much joy to family supporters of any club. So I think we probably just need to be a little bit more respectful of Lance and just really be very appreciative of what he's done for our great game, regardless of what club you support.
One more game against Richmond, I think, in, I want to say around 17 or around there at the MCG. So, and maybe finals. But again, it all hinges on today's game, doesn't it, against Freo? Because only one of these sides, I imagine, will be back in contention if they do win this game this afternoon. Moments away from the opening bounce. Crowd building, as I say, mostly grey skies here in Sydney. Keep your text coming, by the way. 0437 774 774 is the SMS. We'll keep you across North Melbourne and Port Adelaide as we get closer here to proceedings between the Sydney Swans and the Fremantle Dockers. Later on, Hawthorn v Melbourne, also Brisbane, Essendon and Carlton and the Bulldogs at Docklands is your Saturday night offering.
Massive test for Tom Hickey today. So his first game since the grand final, and he's up against the number one hit-out ruckman in the competition in Sean Darcy, number one in terms of hit-outs to advantage as well, at a time when Sydney are missing all their key defenders. The first use out of the middle is going to be so important with that in mind. Sarong up against Chad Warner and Parker. Sarong's having a wonderful season. The stoppages are going to be crucial, aren't they, to establishing the winner of this game, and Darcy's at his best right now, and Tom Hickey's playing his first game of the season.
Well, and it's not a long way from centre bounce to goal here at the SCG either. I mean, I can't comment too much on ruckman, Cal. That's your forte. If you look at that matchup, but I mean, stoppage is always important. I mean, ruckmen get their hands on the ball, but it's up to the other players around the field around the stoppage to get the job done too.
No, it certainly is. And to be honest, Pete Laddam's out of the side. His centre bounce work, I've looked at his numbers, he's actually been brilliant. He's been jumping in very, very well. It looks like he was really confident in the centre bounce. Tom's a very different player to what Peter Laddams is. Needs to be a little bit. He hasn't got the leap of probably athleticism that I guess Pete has, but you kind of watch Tom. He's got a few tricks with how he plays. He tends to stay down in the contest a little more, but this ground would probably suit Sean Darcy, I'd say. A bit smaller, a bit compact. You know, he's probably not the most aerobic ruckman that you're gonna find in the competition, but he'll want it. Tell you what, that siren's loud, gentlemen. But
toss one by Luke Parker. The Swans will kick to the Randwick end to start here at the SCG. What do you see in Nat Fyfe as an impact player? Of course, we know what he's capable of, but he's not the Nat Fyfe of old. He's got a bung shoulder, a couple of bad feet, but he's still a very, very good player. And again today, used as the sub.
I find it surprising that he's been the sub. Now, I'm not privy to what's going on internally with his body, but I don't know, Sato. I just kind of wonder what kind of impact that might have on his teammates from a leadership perspective. I would be guessing that Nat Fyfe isn't comfortable being the sub, to be honest, but that's how Longmuir was playing it.
I just look at it as at some point you want him to get going, you want him out on the park playing high minutes. Now, if he's just playing as a sub each week, when's he going to get that opportunity to get that match time in to be able to roll out there full time?
Poppy Penny downstairs. What's it like down there, Poppy?
Well, there are some grey clouds looming, but for the minute it's blue skies above where I am. That siren really is loud. There's blue skies for the moment. I really am hoping that those clouds go around us. On the benches, starting on the benches for the Swans is Hayden McLean, Braden Campbell, Will Gould and Justin McInerney, and on the Fremantle bench, Ethan Hughes, Neil Erasmus, Michael Frederick and Bailey Banfield.
Thank you, Poppy. We'll get to you throughout the game, of course. Poppy Penny on debut for us on Grandstand AFL here at the SCG. Saturday afternoon, huge game. Sydney and Fremantle getting us underway on Grandstand AFL. Here is Daniel Garb.
Tom Hickey into the Swans side for his first game since the grand final last year. Sean Darcy, the number one hit-out ruckman in the competition, and he wins another one. Looking for O'Meara, picked up by Warner though. Now Parker. Hickey gets hands on the footy, his first disposal for the year. Just misses Cunningham, but he recovers it. Back to Mills. His kick goes up to half forward. Slapped away from that contest by Alex Pearce. Hayden Young has hands on the footy, gets away from Franklin, kicks the Dockers up to half forward, but Cunningham cuts across the pack and spoils. Lloyd, handball over his shoulder for Warner, darts around Brayshaw and kicks to half forward. Big leap there from Hayward, but cutting across was the Dockers captain in Alex Pearce to mark it right half back.
So Pearce assesses the options. 40 seconds in, no score, Swans and Freo. And Jackson takes the mark on the eastern wing.
I think Lance is going to have to be pretty careful of Pearce, just playing that drop-off role. Don't want to give him too much space in the air.
Luke Jackson sets it up, high towards half forward now, out to a 3-on-2. Spoil from Hickey, at the drop there, Haney is wrapped up there by O'Meara, lost the football in the process. On the overlap here, Freo bring it away through Brayshaw, flares it wide on the flank and it bounced out of play in front of O'Driscoll for a throw-in, 45 around from the Freo goal. Paddington end, northern end of the SCG. 90 seconds in here, no score the Swans and Freo here on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, we spoke about Papley as a danger man up forward for the Swans. It's Brennan Cox has got the match up on him to start this game.
Boundary throw-in on the 50 for the Dockers. Florent wins it off the ruck contest. And Sarong and Warner scrap for the football. Goes over the boundary line again. That's going to be an interesting battle, isn't it?
Sure
Two
is.
of the best young players in the competition.
Yeah, Sarong's been unbelievable for Freo. We did talk about him pre-game as one of those young players from the draft a few years ago. He's been terrific for them, and Warner obviously is a star of the future as well.
Back in it comes. Freo in their attacking zone. And down by Darcy. Out in front of Sarong. Keeps it alive only just, although it's out of bounds, in fact, after all that for a throw-in. 35 around from the Freo goal.
The other two in the midfield that I like as well. So the Mills v Brayshaw matchup's a really good one. A couple more experienced players, still young in their career.
Darcy and Hickey jostling. Rowbottom tries to extract it, does so to Parker. Kick from half-back on his left, goes up to the wing. Papley in his 150th came out to meet it, couldn't mark it, but it fell the way of Heaney. He kicks to half-forward. Excellent contest, Logan McDonald, 2 against 1. Split the pack, and that allowed the ball to set up for Buddy Franklin. Kicks into the pocket. McDonald dropping back, couldn't quite mark. He may have been paid the free kick, and he has. Excellent individual work from Logan McDonald. Hard work to win that free kick in the pocket. He'll kick from 25 out, left of centre.
I think a few years ago with Buddy Franklin getting goal side of his opponent, he would have just had a few bounces on the boundary there. But, mate, terrific contest there from Logan McDonald. He'd be dirtied himself there. He probably should have gobbled that one up, but umpire paid him the respect from a free kick.
So Logan McDonald, the Bunbury boy, his first game against the Fremantle Dockers. He has 15 goals for the season. And he's got the first of this game at the SCG. Lovely kick. The Swans are 1 straight 6. Fremantle yet to score.
Cal, that reeked of an element of play from someone that you really liked last week that we were watching in the Bulldogs, Aaron Norton.
Yep.
Just been able to create a contest. So McDonald ran back with the flight of the ball up here at half forward. Luke Ryan for Freo was kind of like the loose anchor for Freo, just sitting there waiting to come forward and mark the footy. McDonald back with the flight, got an arm in, made the contest, brought the ball to ground for Buddy to then pick up, and then to push hard forward off the back of making that contest, getting back on your feet and getting in to be that inside 50 target was a huge effort from Logan McDonald.
And that's his strength, Logan, is in transition when the ball's kind of moving pretty quickly from defence. They've also got to be very careful of Ryan. He's cut the Swans up a number of times, and it seems like he's just getting off the chain a little bit. So Isaac has to be accountable.
Voice of Callum Sinclair alongside Jason Saddington on Grandstand AFL. Right bottom here for the Swans. Papley and pass Parker. Tried to clear here. It's been picked off by Switkowski of the Dockers. Now to O'Meara. Wrapped up, dispossessed. On the bounce, Brayshaw receives it now. Ace with the long sleeves. Goes inside 50 here for Fremantle. Looking for a fly. Jackson! Second bite. Is he paid the mark? No, says the umpire. Play on. 28 from the Dockers goal. Now we'll ball it up.
Would have done wonders for his confidence, that.
Yeah, he was in the gun position, wasn't he? In the front spot. Massive
kick.
Leap up in front. Just couldn't quite hold on to
It's
it.
a depleted Sydney backline as well. Up it goes. Robertham's wrapped up by Darcy, the much bigger man, and the umpire will ball it up again.
I think he ate him.
But that's it. Might be a bit harsh, but he probably should have swallowed that up with what you're looking for today.
Ball up deep inside 50 for Freo. Warner gets hands to it. Handball to Goulden. His kick is smothered though. The Swans still under pressure. Now Parker in the back pocket. Kicks it up the wing. Franklin and Pearce jostling. Well done by Franklin to win it in the contest and palm it down to Papley in his 150th. Has a bounce and then spots up McDonald at a long lead.
Got to go slow here. Ryan's just sitting back again still.
I don't know what they're doing.
So McDonald is held up as a result. You'll just have to kick to the pack at half forward. A bunch of Dockers key defenders under it, including Alex Pearce, and he's won the free kick after winning front position. So the Swans 1 straight 6, 5.5 minutes gone in the first. The Dockers yet to score. Pearce with the ball at left half back.
So you think he's coming off Heaney, Cal? And Heaney's been getting pretty high. Ryan's just sitting off.
A skipper. Frederick in the hole. Goes through his hands. Get back here from Banfield. Overrun by Frederick again. Tries hard. As the Swans rebound from the wing up towards the point of the square. Clark has Warner for company. Wrapped up down there by Hayden Young is Warner. Dispossessed now. Florent had over it now. Pressure from Switkowski. Walters gathers. Works the hand pass wide in space. They've got something going here through Sarong. Puts the Dockers inside forward 50. Big sprawl from Francis. Out in space though. It's retrieved. Out to Schultz by hands. And he goes toward goal. Touched on the line down there by McInerney. And it's a minor score for the Dockers. Their first score of the game. Sydney are 1 straight 6. Freo 1 behind. 6.5 gone in the opening term.
Swans play on quickly. Lloyd to McInerney and Parker, and now Lloyd runs out a defensive 50. Finds Warner at centre-half back. The Swans playing on at pace. He gives it to Cunningham. Kicks to a one-on-one inside 50. Heaney from the back launched over the top of Ryan. Palmed it down. Gathers it himself, Isaac Heaney. Now he needs support. Finds it in the form of Florent. He's wrapped up though by Jordan Clark. Will have a ball up inside 50 for the Swans. And that was some pretty good transition from Sydney deep in defence as we go down to the boundary and Poppy Penny.
Guys, Callum Mills has just come off complaining about his calf. He's gone straight down to the rooms with the doctor.
On your Poppy, back with you shortly. As it's wrapped up here, 45 out from Sydney's goal. Another stoppage inside 50 for them. Umpire wastes no time. Hickey tried to slap it away. Erasmus got a spoil in there as well. As it's worked up the corridor here for the Dockers, only as far as Cunningham slips the tackle of Walters. Got it away here for Fox. They'll rebound here. Francis under pressure, which came late from Amos. Off half back, they'll clear. Blakey across to the right half back area for Florent. Takes it on the bounce now. Unkind hand pass for Fox. Gathered here by Warner. Slips the tackle of Schultz. Hand pass back here. Works it okay for Florent again. Fires it back by hand to Clark. Overlap comes here. Florent run down by Schultz. Great chase and tackle holding the ball, says the umpire. Freo ball on the wing.
That was a great chase down from Schultz there. I was about to say their pressure from their forwards has been pretty poor leading up to that, but Schultz was able to get a run-down tackle.
Had to release it quicker, did Florent. So Schultz with the free kick. Finds Frederick at left half forward. He kicks the Dockers inside 50. Amos is under it, but floating over the back of the pack is Robbie Fox. The mark for the Swans. His kick is over the head of Luke Parker, so a turnover potentially. One back by Freo. Here's Ethan Hughes. He lost control of the football. Warner wins it back for the Swans. Strong tackle by Braden Campbell for Sydney there on Neil Erasmus. And we'll have a ball up at half forward for the Dockers. It's frantic early.
Swans by 5 points. 8.5 gone in the opening term here on Grandstand AFL. Up it goes. Hickey and Darcy. Both rucks clamouring for it. Aish beaten by Warner. Collected there by Clark. Loose ball gathered by Sarong. Dockers are away through Switkowski. Puts them inside forward 50. They're looking for a high flyer. It's come off the bonce of one of those marking targets down there, Amos. And now Hickey. Off to Fox. The Swans are away. Through the corridor, second mounts for Fox, draws the player, hand pass to Franklin, goes through his fingertips, out here for the Dockers, gathered again, great work it was by Luke Ryan, on the overlap again the Dockers go, just sort of halfway, only as far as Hickey though, and now a little kick from Goulden, little 1-2 with Campbell, in fact Campbell will hold it for a second and go wide to the wing where it's marked by the wingman and McInerney.
McInerney assessing his options as the ball just behind the logo on the wing goes short to Hayward. The kick is scrappy though, so the Dockers win it back through Tracy, and now Hughes, who breaks the Hayward tackle, goes short, bounces in front of O'Driscoll, so Banfield has to pick it up. Gives it to O'Driscoll now. He runs into trouble in the form of Robbie Fox, and he is now disposed of the ball deliberately over the boundary line, and the Swans will win the free kick courtesy of that strong tackle from Fox on the outer wing.
10 gone first quarter. Swans are 1 straight 6. Freo just the solitary point so far. Back inside 50 through Lloyd. That's defensive 50 for the Swans. Now Francis, the ex-bomber, will switch across the goal mouth here for Cunningham. He's their 5th most experienced one in terms of games played. Skids that ball wide of Heaney on the wing, and it goes out of bounds for a throw-in.
I think kicking skills from both teams haven't been too hot, but just on Ryan, it appears like he's not too fussed if Isaac gets a kick up the ground. He's very keen to kind of sit back off the ball and be an extra in defence. So whether or not that's because Buddy's in the team, a bit more support for Pearce, we'll find out.
The Swans 1 straight 6. Dockers 1 behind. 10.5 gone in the first quarter here at the SCG. As we heard from Poppy Penny, an injury concern for the Swans and Callum Mills, who has gone down the race to have his leg assessed. Dockers win the free kick on the wing and kick inside 50, but again, They lack the marking targets there, and Nick Blakey's able to get hands on the footy deep in defence. Finds Hayward at centre half-back. He switches it out to McInerney at left half-back. Now they get some run through. Lloyd, he is run down by Tracy. Got the handball free, though, to Ryan Clark, and he just pokes it up the wing and finds McLean.
Hayden McLean, as they surge forward in red and white jumpers, looking for options. Lays it off by hand. Robbie Fox, his kick was touched. It arrives out at half-back there for Erasmus of the Dockers. Goes back along the O'Reilly wing. McLean in the contest with Tracy. It's out of bounds for a throw-in again on that far wing in front of the O'Reilly stand. Swans by 5 points still. 12 gone in the first term here on Grandstand AFL via ABC Sport.
There just seems to be a lot more urgency in the Swans and their speed, leg speed around the field. You know, they're first to the contest, they're outnumbering, they're taking the game on. Fred just look a bit flat-footed, especially across half forward.
Jager O'Meara, run down by Goulden. Ball spills free, but O'Meara was caught holding the ball. That is one of the features of Errol Goulden's game. We talk about his kicking and his run, but he's strong as well, isn't he?
For a little fella, unbelievably strong.
Excellent tackle on O'Meara. Caught him holding the ball, and that's an accurate kick 15 metres further forward to find one of the Swans co-captains, the three-time best and fairest winner in Luke Parker. Parker will go long, inside 50. Franklin's under it. Alex Pearce outmarks him, though. So he started well, the Dockers skipper. 3 intercept marks so far, and he's out-muscled Buddy on that occasion.
Swings it wide now for Ryan in the left-back pocket for Fremantle. Looking for a way forward. Swans by that 5 points. Tips over the top to Hughes. Still inside defensive 50 here at the Randwick end. Dummies the hand pass to Ryan. He's got a plan as well. He works around Clark on the mark. And now Hughes kicks up to the western wing. In from the side. Down there for Freo Tracy. Francis in the contest. Had some pressure coming from Bailey Banfield. Now they pile in from all angles. And the umpire says, holding the ball. It's going to go against Freo, as it was kept in underneath Erasmus.
Started well, Francis.
It was Francis with the pressure. He's got to play on now. Step off his line. Hurried left foot kick. Straight down Jackson's throat at left half back for Freo.
I won't talk ever again.
Down to Poppy on the boundary.
Guys, it looks like Mark Sheath there is warming up and he's got his playing strip on, so it does look like Callum Mills is going to be subbed out with that injury.
That is a big story here at the SCG. One of the Swan superstars in Callum Mills, the reigning best and fairest winner, All-Australian from last year. Off in the first few minutes of this game at the SCG, it seems.
That hurts, but also forces a reshuffle because Sheath is a forward as a sub. So they're going to have to push someone into the midfield. Maybe you do see Heaney go up the ground.
As the Dockers switched it around half-back and now find Walker on the wing. That kick was to a 2-on-1. Schultz wanted a free kick for too high. He got one. A chance for the Dockers to go inside 50 again through Lockie Schultz. They've done so 7 times already in this game, but only the one behind. So they need a strong option in attack. Jackson's underneath it. Floating across the top, though, is Nick Blakey. The ball sits in, though, just inside the boundary line. Jake Lloyd's happy to carry it over. So we'll have a boundary throw in right forward pocket for the Dockers.
Blakey's having too much impact in the air. He's probably taken 2 intercept marks and he's been allowed to fly too many times.
15 going here. Swans by 5 points. Up inside 50 here for Fremantle. Heaney first pair of hands to it. Shares it with Goulden. Had a career day last week. It was smothered. Goes out of bounds for a throw-in right at the junction of 50 at left half back for the Swans.
Yeah, so that requires the Freo forwards to be more proactive on trying to keep their opponent down. You know, you're not always going to be the option, but if you've got Blakey sort of in your vicinity, you're going to need to try and somehow keep him down without blocking and giving away a free kick.
Ball in dispute just outside, attacking 50 for the Dockers. Strong tackle on Goulden by Brayshaw, but he caught him too high. So Errol Goulden with the free kick, left half back. The big news, Callum Mills set to be subbed out of the game for the Swans inside the opening few minutes. Coming off 31 possessions last week, that is a hammer blow to Sydney. As they kick to half forward, Franklin couldn't mark. Jackson's there, as is Brennan Cox. Jackson does well to gather it at ground level, but then turns it over to Heaney. McLean's kick was smothered, falls the way of Warner. He wanted a free kick for in the back, wasn't paid. Goulden gathers it, back to McInerney, just an up and under into attack for the Swans. Cutting across his Hughes to spoil. O'Meara has hands to Clark, but he lost the handle on it. It fell to Rowbottom, who snapped on goal and made him pay. James Rowbottom capitalises with a snap from 40 out. And the Swans have their second goal. They are 2 straight 12, Fremantle 1 behind.
And we spoke about that pre-game, Stato. If they want to go into that handball game, particularly coming out when it's hot in defence, Swans are very, very good at pressing and forcing that pressure to then cause a turnover. That's probably what we discussed pre-game. They need to be very careful doing that. They need to probably get it out and get it closer to the boundary.
Yeah. And I think we're finding that the Swans' aerial skills are better than Freo's at the moment, certainly in that back 50. They're winning the aerial duel. But when the ball's hitting the ground as well, I just feel like the Swans have more urgency at the moment to get numbers at the fall of the ball. Hence why their possession count, they're 73-40 at the moment. They're just winning a lot more footy than Freo when the ball's at ground level.
Poppy, that confirmed news from downstairs?
Yeah, Callum Mills has been subbed off and Mark Sheether is on. Just waiting for confirmation, but I think it's a calf.
Okay, thank you, Poppy. Yeah, Sheether takes position in the forward 50 there for the Swans. And Mills looks a forlorn figure on the Swans bench midway through the opening quarter here at the SCG. So they've got the first couple of goals, but down a co-captain. Jackson middle here with Brayshaw. And now Sarong. Dockers can clear inside forward 50. Frederick does some crumbing, takes on Campbell. Lost the handle here as Warner sends his hand pass out wide for Fox. Loose football on the wing. Frederick goes in hard. Florent wraps him up. Again dispossessed. O'Meara gathers for the Dockers. Here's it with Jackson. He can send them forward of halfway. Fox got in their way as well and smothered it away here. Sukowski goes inside 50 on that loose football, but Francis floats across and takes the intercept at right full back for the Sydney Swans. And they'll just chip it across the goal mouth here. They lead by 11 points here, the home side, 17 gone in the opening quarter.
The Dockers have gone inside 50 10 times and are yet to take a mark inside 50. As Blakey wins a free kick at left half back. In fact, it's Will Gould against Josh Tracy. He's being held. So Will Gould, young player with a lot of promise for Sydney, gets a 50-metre penalty as well. Looked like Josh Tracy wasn't too happy with the umpire's decision. And 50 as a result. Gould plays on quickly, finds Rowbottom at centre half forward, gives it to McInerney. He has plenty of time to eye up the big sticks and kick the Swans third. Well, he waltzed through on goal, Justin McInerney, and converted from 45 out. The Swans 3 straight 18, the Dockers 1 behind.
I'll tell you what, Justin Longmuir would not be happy with that from his Fremantle team. Literally not one person showing any urgency. Will Gould. The rule is now these guys just sprint when they get a 50-metre penalty, and Rowbottom, McInerney free in the middle of the ground. The ball hit the deck.
Rowbottom wasn't even ready for it.
Yeah, anyway, so I'd hate to know what words are coming out of Justin Longmuir's mouth right now.
That's what's happening at the moment. We see it, the ground ball, Freo just not getting numbers there, less urgency, and that was just the absolute picture of it.
Coach killer.
Right there. They're just sound asleep, Freo.
Swans with the first 3 goals of the afternoon. Great to have your company via Grandstand AFL. Ball on the turf. Wayward bounce there from umpire Jacob Mollison. So balled up again. 19 gone, quarter number 1. McLean v Darcy in the ruck. Down to Parker. Kick funded by Darcy. Ricochets out to Campbell. Brought to ground here by Erasmus. The umpire says, give it to me. Up it goes again. Darcy with the hit out. Brayshaw had a hand over the shoulder. In fact, it might go the way of the ruckman in that ruck contest. Darcy infringed by McLean. So Freo's tall. Send it out towards Young. He can spear the pass inside 450. It was a little too deep down there for Banfield. Picked up at the back here by Schultz. He's collected a big bear tackle and the umpire will ball it up again. 35 out from Freo's goal. Paddington end. It's the Swans who lead by 17 points.
Need a quick response, the Dockers. The Swans have got the jump on them here at the SCG, but Erasmus handball is sharked by Florent. He has it in the back pocket for the Swans. The 1-2 with Campbell. And now he goes up to the winging for Franklin and Pearce. Off the hands of that contest. Sheether, the sub, scrapping away on the wing, then puts a strong tackle on a Dockers player. Excellent second effort by Mark Sheether. It's on Jordan Clark. Sheether on the ground, the sub, because Callum Mills has been removed from the game with a calf injury. Big blow for Sydney.
Ball in the air. Darcy wins it to the outside there for Sarong. Hand pass to Walters. Dockers go forward of halfway again. Out towards a 2-on-2. Blakey comes in high. Second bite. Pulls it in. At right half back for the Swans.
It's really disappointed with Freo's forward line at the moment. There's too much room. O'Meara was just caught way behind Blakey on that occasion as the ball's coming in. There's no pressure at ground level. It's far too easy for the Swans at the moment. Freo 11 inside 50s to 5, and they've it's just coming out way too easy each time.
Hit time on here in the opening term. Goulden Stockers at forward here. Had over the football. Walker was met front on down there by Sheether. Gives away the free kick. Does the Sydney sub. And Brendan Walker, lad from East Fremantle, goes back inside defensive 50 here for Fremantle.
And he finds Luke Ryan, All-Australian and best and fairest winner for the Dockers in 2020. He goes out to half-back and finds Neil Erasmus in for his third game of the season. Pick 10 from the 2021 draft. Erasmus to half-forward. Can the Dockers claim something here? They can through Darcy.
Well read.
They look for the big man to give them some control in the forward half of the ground. Marked it in front of Hickey. Now pokes it inside 50. A challenge for Banfield at the back. Through his hands. Can the Dockers forwards conjure something up? It's a throw against the Swans here, so the Dockers will actually have a kick from 25 out on the angle, and Harry Cunningham has been pinged for a throw deep inside defensive 50.
Much needed shot on goal for Fremantle, I would say. It's just, Sato, you'll probably comment on this, but they just don't even look like scoring when they're going inside 50.
No, because they're either kicking long and high, and the Freo forwards aren't engaging with the Swans defender to keep them down. So it's too easy for the Swans defenders to roll up and be third man up. And then at ground level, they're just getting killed as well.
2 goals last week for Bailey Banfield in the win over Hawthorn. And he's got the Dockers first of the game here in Sydney, and that was a much needed one. Freo on the board. They are 1-1-7. The Swans are 3 straight 18. We've gone 22 minutes in the first quarter on ABC Grandstand.
And definitely much needed goal. It was gifted to them from the Swans with Cunningham, a little sort of trying to dish the ball out, trying to handball. Geez, you could argue that he got a hand on that for a handball. But the other time, like so we mentioned, Freo either going in long and high and not engaging the Swans defenders. The other one is when they have tried to hit up going in, they've overshot the kicks. And just hit them a bit too high, which has made it easy for the Swans defenders as well. But it'll be interesting to see. So if you've got Jackson playing forward a bit, I mean, we saw Darcy take a great contested mark here. Do you give him more time up forward today? Jackson a bit more ruck and Darcy a bit more time forward as that big body to mark the footy.
Jason Stunnington alongside Callum Sinclair on Grandstand AFL, our experts this afternoon. Yeah, perfect bounce. Darcy and Hickey both missed it though. Tapped out the back here. Papley in his 150th game. Out to Goulden. Back to Papley here. Bursts away at half forward. Shrugs the tackle. No, he doesn't. Great second effort was from Brayshaw. Well done. Down. 45 out from Freo's defensive goal. So nice work from Brayshaw. 34 touches last week for last year's BNF. And the league MVP goes back inside defensive 50. Working away here towards Pearce. The Freo skipper has it at full back.
Interestingly, Luke Jackson started that centre bounce in the middle as well, alongside Darcy. Did that a few times last week as Pearce's kick goes out to half-back, punched away from the pack by Tom Hickey, falls the way of Hayden McLean. Erasmus gathered it with no one around him. Did well to dart around a tackle. Ball at left half-back. Luke Ryan has it. The kick to half-forward evades Aaron Francis, but he did well to get in front of his opponent in O'Meara. He'll have a boundary throw in just in front of the wing. Dockers attacking into the ground.
So that'd be really disappointing for me. If you're Freo's forward coach, Jago O'Meara's been caught behind 2 or 3 times, flat-footed, letting his opponent, whether it be Francis or Blakey, be first to move.
Back in it comes. Half forward for Fremantle. Hickey up in front of Darcy. Brought to the deck here. Warner lays a big tackle. The umpire will ball it up.
I think it's fair to say he's being played out of position as well. He's not a forward, and I know he has to adjust, but they just haven't got the personnel.
Hickey and Darcy went at each other. Back to put a tunnel it through Erasmus. Dumped this time by Hickey. The umpire will ball it up again.
You're right, Garby. Jackson still playing as an on-baller.
Interesting watching him lining up alongside Luke Parker next to Sean Darcy. Swans win it out of that contest. Quick handballs from Goulden and Warner. Now they find Parker on the wing. The ball didn't go 15, so he plays on quickly and hits up Isaac Heaney. Swans enjoying an 11-point lead here, late stage to the first quarter at the SCG. And for some reason, the free kick's gone the way of the Dockers.
Abuse, I think.
Abuse against the Swans, so Heaney had to hand it over to Hayden Young. He goes short to Lockie Schultz. Plays on now on the wing and kicks the Dockers into attack. Off the hands of the pack. Aaron Francis claimed the mark and has been paid the mark. So He is the tallest man deep in defence for Sydney, and he's had a good start to the game, Aaron Francis. He's marked it in the back pocket.
He's looking a lot more comfortable in the side at the moment. I think it's fair to say his confidence has gone through the roof the last few weeks.
Kick's no good though, marked by Darcy of Fremantle. Goes the hands off to Hayden Young, inside forward 50 here for the Dockers again. Strong grab, Francis intercepts. Just call him Nope Francis. So he keeps cutting off every forward entry for the Dockers. Swans by 11 points, 26 gone here in the opening term. Short kick to find Goulden.
14 entries, 2 shots on goal.
And no marks inside 50 for Freo. It was their problem early in the season, and it's rearing its head again.
Well, the Swans have had probably 4 or 5 marks in the defensive 50.
Goulden goes short to Florent and Parker. Now Rowbottom has it in the middle of the SCG. Chisels one to Tom Papley and finds him just inside 50, 45-degree angle. And he says, boys, just settle down. It's my 150th. I wouldn't mind kicking one early on.
It's just crisp ball movement from the Swans. A great lowering of the eyes there. They know that, who is it sitting back for Freo? Ryan's just generally sitting back. So to go shorter and look for Papley, he only had 5 metres on his opponent, but it's enough.
Two-time leading goal kicker at the Swans in game 150, Tom Papley. That is a scrappy effort. Picked up, though, by McLean at the front of the pack, and then he's missed his effort at goal from 7 metres out directly in front. Didn't have a look. Had a quick snap and it floated across the face for a behind. The Swans 3-1-19, the Dockers 1-1-7, 27 minutes gone, first quarter.
You'd expect more from big blokes like that with their ground level skills, Cal, wouldn't you?
Exactly right, but you'd be furious if you were Justin Longmuir.
Ryan kicks out. Strong grab taken by Tracy. Huge fly from Josh Tracy.
Exactly what they needed.
Came 3 deep in the pack, clunked a massive pack hanger, and he sends his kick wide to the wing here for Erasmus. Dockers go forward of halfway
Great
again.
mark.
Up here for Walters. Jackson in there as well. Lloyd kept the feet in defence here for the Swans. Francis goes in hard, competes with Sarong. Umpire lets them play here. 45 out from Freo's goal. The umpire will ball it up.
See that again. Put it.
Haven't we been blessed with big grabs the first part of the season here in Sydney?
What a grab from Josh Tracy.
It's made up for their lack of marks in the first 25 minutes of the game.
Lad from Kahuna.
Wow, look at that.
Rowbottom just works the kick out beyond defensive 50. Papley second bite controls it here out right half back. Sends it back towards centre half back. Sets a task there for Goulden. Competes with Jackson, a much bigger body. Goulden does well though. Back to Francis. Into the back of him though goes Tracy. He took that fantastic mark a short time ago. Loose ball at half forward. The umpire will ball it up. 60 out from Freo's goal, Paddington end. It's the Swans who lead by 12 points. 3-1 plays 1-1, 28 and a half played.
Well, that big grab by Josh Tracy has sparked the Dockers. They have it at half forward. Good handball from Erasmus to Jackson. A snap on his left into attack. Tracy's under it again. Walters looking for the crumb. Lloyd got hands to it. Snapped it out of defensive 50. Heaney tries to punch it to a teammate. Hayden Young went in his back. Umpire says that is not a free kick. So ball up on the logo on the wing. Time ticking down in the first quarter. The Swans 3-1-19. Fremantle 1-1-7.
Ball in the air. Hickey v Jackson. Out the back to Rowbottom there for the Swans. And now worked around by McInerney. It's a kick to McLean. Just went 15. No, it didn't. Umpire says it was touched. So he was spun to the ground there by Cox. And the umpire will ball it up on the wing western side. It does so now. Swans by 12. Hickey just volleyed forward by Parker. At the back there, Cox for the Dockers. Escapes McLean, works the hand pass back to Ryan from left half back. Weaves his way around Heaney, and now Brayshaw can send them forward. Out to the wing again. It was too deep for Schultz. Marked by Fox. He can send the Swans back forward of halfway. Young picks it off here off half back for the Dockers, and that will bring an end to the first quarter here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. The Swans 3-1-19. Fremantle a 1-1-7. That quarter went just under half an hour here. And the goal kickers, firstly for the Sydney Swans, they kicked the first 3 goals of the game to McDonald, to Rowbottom, and also to McInerney. So that's the 3 goal kickers so far for the Swans, while for the Dockers, their only goal kicker so far is Bailey Banfield. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, News Radio, and ABC Sport Digital.
Mr. Dulac, how long have you been dead?
2 immortal classics from Anne Rice.
I offer my life story.
The newsreaders Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson from Game of Thrones in The Interview with the Vampire.
I can swap this life of shame, swap it out for a dark gift.
and Alexandra Daddario from White Lotus in Mayfair Witches.
You don't know what I'm capable of.
Stream all the episodes now on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Heaney, he kicks to half forward. Excellent contest from Logan McDonald. 2 against 1. Split the pack. And that allowed the ball to set up for Buddy Franklin. Kicks into the pocket. McDonald dropping back. Couldn't quite mark. He may have been paid the free kick, and he has. He has 15 goals for the season. And he's got the first of this game at the SCG. Goulden gathers it. Back to McInerney. Just an up and under into attack for the Swans. Cutting across his Hughes to spoil. O'Meara has hands to Clark, but he lost the handle on it. It fell to Rowbottom, who snapped on goal and made him pay. Will Gould against Josh Tracy, being held. Gets a 50-metre penalty as well. Looked like Josh Tracy wasn't too happy with the umpire's decision. 50 as a result. Gould plays on quickly, finds Rowbottom at centre half forward, gives it to McInerney. He has plenty of time to eye up the big sticks and kick the Swans third.
Ryan kicks out. Strong run taken by Tracy. Huge fly from Josh Tracy.
Exactly what that needed.
Came 3 deep into the pack. Clunked a massive pack hanger.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
A Mark of the Year contender. The highlight there in the first term for Fremantle, but they trail by 12 points. The Swans are 3-1-19. The Dockers 1-1-7 here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. You're with Brett Sprigg, Daniel Garb, Callum Sinclair, Jason Huntington and Poppy Penny on the boundary. Callum Mills subbed out in that first term with what looks like a calf injury, so Mark Shearer in the action. Of course, still no sign of Nat Fyfe, the Dockers sub. They are unchanged from that commanding win against Hawthorn last week. Elsewhere, of course, happening at Bellreeve Oval in Hobart. It's North Melbourne, Port Adelaide, and Port have the first goal there, 1 straight 6. And guess who's kicked the first goal for Port against North Melbourne?
Oh no.
Sam Palpepper. So there you go. That's happening as we speak. Spence, though, was up there. Not Jason Horn-Francis. ABC Listen app, the best place to find that. Look for the ABC AFL Extra button. And, of course, you can find every match streamed on the ABC Listen app across this 2023 AFL season. 12 points the margin here. Cal, Sato, your thoughts on the opening half hour?
Yeah, look, I felt like the Swans are probably a little bit more in control of that game. I think the one thing that's really, really hurting Fremantle, and Sato and I pointed out a fair bit in the first quarter, is just their lack of aerial presence. And I really question Justin Longmuir's decision to play Luke Jackson and Darcy together in the midfield. One of them has to be down there to create a contest. We even saw a few of the... We even seen while they're down there, they're allowing guys kind of like Blakey, Gould, Aaron Francis, which I wouldn't mind touching on in a minute, having too much impact. Their midfielders are getting back. Swans midfielders actually doing it pretty good defensively to get back, and they're swooping up the ground balls. I think Freo's forward line, they need a bit of a rev up and a little bit of work to do. Aaron Francis, for me, is one that I thought really stood out in that first quarter. He had a handful of intercept marks. Looks a lot more comfortable now in the Swans lineup and at the level. So I know we're only probably the margin doesn't seem that far apart from either side, but it just kind of, to me, it just looks like Fremantle need a little bit more X factor. They've got Nathan Fyfe sitting on the bench. I'm coaching Freo. I'm trying to get him into the game a lot more quicker. This ground would suit him. He's not going to have to do much aerobic running, but those are my thoughts, Sato.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you continue to struggle inside that forward 50, you do look at when do you bring Fyfe on.
He's a perfect fit for it.
It's a risky call, though. Like, you probably do go, you'd love to sub him in almost in the second quarter, but that's big risk.
It is.
Activating a sub that early. I couldn't agree with you more, Cal. I mean, the Swans are dominating the ball around the ground. You know, their possession, they're 111 to 74, so they're winning all the ground ball. I think they're a bit more intense to get across to contests and help out and support, and especially in that back half, like you mentioned, their mids do get back and help. I'd love to see the Freo forwards engage the Swans defenders. They're too flat-footed. O'Meara, we saw caught behind a couple of times. You know, Blakey's been able to come across. He's had 3 or 4 spoils. He's also marked the ball 3 times himself as a defender. And Francis, who you mentioned, 4 marks. Now that's way too much. You know, as a back 6 to be marking that ball from a Freo point of view. So they need to engage, keep them down, or at least make enough of a contest to bring the ball to ground so their smaller players can get to work. They've got to fix it up. They've won the inside 50s What is it, 16-7 Freo. So they're getting it in there. They've just got to bring that ball to ground.
Not the most pressing issue, but I'm told that our network-wide text line is down. So if you are texting us on 0437 774 774, save your phone bill and don't text for now because the text line is down.
A big issue is Callum Mills and that injury. I've just seen him mouthing to teammates saying it's a calf, so that's confirmed. His calf is heavily iced as well. He looks pretty cut. He got a lot of support from his teammates. But the likes of Goulden and Warner stepping up in his absence. Goulden 12 disposals, Warner 12 as well, Parker 10 to quarter time.
Swans by 12 at the first break. Into the second term we go. Hickey v Darcy in the ruck. One to the outside there. Sarong, first pair of hands, a hurried kick towards half forward, but getting back in the hole and marking to intercept is Florent. Centre half back here for Sydney. Ollie Florent called to play on. Spears the pass toward that western wing. It's clean bowled Hayward. Out the back though, Campbell gathers for the Swans. Has some room to bounce. Hayden Young gives chase. Campbell sends his kick inside 50. Looks for Franklin in the 2-on-2. Back there with McDonald as well as Clark at ground level gives a shove. Ryan mops up here for the Dockers. His kick goes up in the air and it will just pitch in the field of play. Down there was Schultz again, brought to ground by Hayward. Big tackle. The umpire will ball it up in front of the old Ladies Pavilion. One of those two grand old grandstands here at the SCG. Swans by 12 points inside the opening minute of this second term.
You called out the stats there of the mids, Garby. I mean, the Swans mids getting a heap more footy than the Freo mids.
Sarong to Young. He's kicked to half forward. That's a good grab from Luke Jackson. So they need more of that Fremantle. Jackson timed his jump brilliantly. He took the mark at right half forward. Has support from Young. Gives the handball off, but his kick is smothered. And now it's turned over. So that good grab from Jackson. And all of a sudden the ball's going the other way. Franklin has it at left half forward. Looks for support inside 50. Decides to go short as a result of the lack of options and finds Chad Warner. He has Braden Campbell with him, but he goes around Alex Pearce instead. Kicks deep into attack off the hands of McLean. Cox is there. Jordan Clark has it as well. And he finds O'Meara at half-back. Well done by Rowbottom to cut across, though. Now Brandon Walker couldn't get hands on it. Papley scrapping away. Hits it out to Goulden. Looking for Florent. Gets it back from Florent, does Goulden. Now Blakey and Warner, and missed him.
Loose ball gathered by Jackson. Hand pass back with his fellow big in Darcy. And now O'Meara mops up here in the middle of the SCG. Takes on Goulden with a bump. Ball jars free. It's gathered here by Brayshaw of the Dockers. And it's a short chip pass out in front of O'Driscoll. Can't keep it alive. It goes out of bounds for a throw-in. 75 around from the Dockers goal Randwick end. No change to our quarter-time score. Sydney 3-1-19, Freo 1-1-7, 2.5 played.
I think, Sato, if you were both teams then, you'd be frustrated with the lack of kind of cleanliness in the middle of the ground there. So both teams had their opportunity.
Saw a big grab from Jackson, but then the Dockers turned it over straight away as Darcy wins the tap. Switkowski gathers it. Forward pocket, Sarong kicks it to the top of the square. Banfield spoils. Comes back to Sarong. Now Josh Tracy, handball backwards to O'Driscoll. Centres it for Fremantle. Jackson's under it and marking. So two big grabs from Luke Jackson, and this one will allow for a kick directly in front, and surely the Dockers' second goal of the game.
I don't mind that strategy from Sean Darcy in that stoppage, just punching it forward, getting a little bit of momentum, just causing a little bit of dirty footy. Swans defenders should be pretty disappointed in themselves, allowing Jackson to take that.
He's copped a heap of criticism in the early part of the season, Luke Jackson, but he might just silence some of them with more grabs like that and the goal to go with it. Fremantle 2-1-13. They cut the margin back to 6 points. The Swans are 3-1-19 and Luke Jackson's on the board.
And I think that's the key. So we've seen Jackson take two great marks so far this quarter. So get rid of the midfield thing, like you say, Cal. Have him forward. And then when Darcy needs a spell, try and get Darcy forward and Jackson in the middle. So you've always got one big, strong marking target up in your forward 50. He's going to help you get a better outcome every time you go inside 50.
Be playing a little bit more territory. I thought that really worked there from Sean Darcy. It wasn't pretty, but it just allowed their mids to kind of run forward of the ball. And if he has that dominance in the ruck, no reason why to keep it going and get a bit more territory.
Got top votes in the Coaches Award last week. Luke Jackson, his best game as a Docker. On the board here this afternoon. Swans by 6 from the restart. Parker will clear here for Sydney. Bounce it towards half forward. Out in the contest there, Young with Hayward. Socket forward by the Dockers defender. Hand pass back here. Still alive to O'Meara. Now Ace running by from right half back. It's well weighted as it finds The chest mark of Lockie Schultz from in front of the benches. Works it forward. Oh, he's marked by Parker. And he's been felled by O'Meara and get 50 as well. Just a little bit too much on that from O'Meara as Parker controlled the mark. So he's marched 50, plays on to Parker, and he spots up the target there, Hayward, 55 from goal. He's got the boot for this, Will Hayward, but doesn't appear convinced for the time being. He'll swing it across the half-forward line to Lloyd. 60 from goal, uses the corridor, spoil from Walker of the Dockers. Out the back there is Sarong, he can clear here for Fremantle towards the outer side.
Cunningham's got front position over his head and the head of Bailey Banfield. Michael Walters offers support. The ball has gone over the boundary line for a throw-in front of the Bill O'Reilly stand at the SCG. Swans are 3-1-19, Fremantle 2-1-13. Great to have your company around the nation, wherever you're listening, on ABC Grandstand. All thrown in. Palmed down by Darcy. O'Driscoll has time to gather it. And then on his left, kick it to half forward for Fremantle. It'll sit up nicely for Andrew Brayshaw, who marked it in the end. Has Josh Tracy on a lead. Got two hands to it, Tracy, but couldn't grab it. Sits up for Warner. And now Lloyd is caught holding the ball. Inside defensive 50 for the Swans. Excellent work from Switkowski. And Sam Switkowski will kick from a 45-degree angle, 45 metres out. Excellent defensive work. Let's go down to Poppy Penny on the boundary.
Guys, it's more injury trouble for the Swans. Logan McDonald has come off limping, favouring his left leg, and he's going straight down to the rooms with the physio and the doctor as well.
Tell you what, Sato, that's what you called for in the first quarter, is a little bit more effort from their small forwards. That's sort of the X factor that they kind of need, is kind of pressing hard, particularly on this ground because it is compact.
Sam Switkowski picks 73 in the 2017 draft. What a gem he is proving to be. And he has managed to capitalise from his excellent defensive work inside 50. He's kicked the Dockers third, and all of a sudden scores a level here at the SCG. Fremantle 3-1-19, the Swans 3-1-19.
Absolutely, Cal. You've got the Swans defenders, like we've spoken about, trying to get off and bring the ball to ground. The Smalls have got to get busy, and there Switkowski's ability to come hard forward and to put pressure on Lloyd and make that tackle. That's what they need to do. You need to see more of that from O'Meara and Walters as well. They need to join the party here. Freo, they've been fantastic to start this quarter. You mentioned Darcy just hitting the ball forward a little bit. Caleb Sarong's getting his hands on the footy as well. I think he's been quite influential so far this quarter, up to the 11 possessions. So
Swans with the first three of the game, and Freo with the next three. Other side of quarter time. Scores level 19 apiece. They start back in the middle. Hickey and Darcy again doing the ruck work. Down to Parker, collected by that man Switkowski. Darcy goes in hard. Big fend down there on Gordon on the much smaller body. And now Campbell here for the Swans on loose ball. Off to Fox. His kick was smothered. Bounce back alongside the centre circles. Switkowski competes with Parker. Parker wins it away. Fox run down by Frederick. Great chase and tackle. It's happened a few times now for Freo. That defensive effort. We saw a couple in the first term, of course. A short time ago, Switkowski, now Frederick with that chase and tackle. Short kick wide now for Ryan.
Might have been a message from the forwards coach at the quarter-time break, is to these smaller mid-sized forwards, get busy, get defensive, because they've done it well so far.
Aish, the recent 150 gamer, up through a pack at half forward. Francis comes in there as well. Through the air was Schultz. Kept alive by Switkowski, just tumbles it up the line that finds the boundary line, 25 around from goal. The Dockers at the Randwick end, they're attacking, having kicked the last three goals of the game. 3-1-19 apiece, 8.5 go in second quarter here on Grandstand AFL.
You mentioned Sarong up to 11 disposals. Jason Saddington, he's fourth in the comp for disposals, fifth for inside 50s on all-Australian pace. Caleb Sarong having another big game for Fremantle. As Parker gathers it inside defensive 50 for the Swans. Handball back to Lloyd. Long kick up the wing. Franklin's under it. Off his hands, picked up by Jordan Clark. Needs support, gives it to Frederick. Does well to evade a couple tackles. And then another one. His handball short to Hayden Young. Puts him under pressure though. He's wrapped up by Errol Goulden. We'll have a ball up in the middle of the SCG. But it's a frantic game of football, an exciting one. Scores level.
9 go in second term. Darcy snatched out of the right, goes inside 50 here. Well positioned. Lockie Schultz gave a nudge there on Lloyd. Umpire let it go, and Schultz takes the chest mark 40 out to make it 35, slightly right of centre.
A completely different side this quarter, Sato. Probably a little bit lucky on that one. I haven't seen the replay just yet. It looked a little bit ugly with that push in the back for that mark there from Lachie Schultz, but very, I agree with the comments before. There must have been a little bit of a rocket at quarter time because their response has been very impressive.
Lachie Schultz, 1 goal, 2 last week against the Hawks. Here he is on the approach for the Dockers' 4th. He lets fly with a set shot and makes no mistake. Fremantle of 4-1-25. The Sydney Swans remain stuck on 3-1-19. 10 go on second term. ABC Sport, this is Grandstand AFL.
And I think it's off the back of the Freo mids have lifted their game also. You know, we mentioned Sarong just before, up to the 11 possessions. I think they had 5 or 6 in the first. They're starting to get their hands on the footy a little bit more around the contest. We're seeing the game played a bit more in the front half now for Freo as well. In general play, they're getting their hands on the ball. The forwards we've spoken about are a lot more urgency and busy in the game. Interestingly now, with McDonald off, how the Swans are going to cope in going inside 50. You know, Buddy's their major target with McLean. You know, Heaney's going to have to step up. They're going to have to find some targets to come through to goal.
Around the grounds in Hobart, time on first term there. North and Port Adelaide are 2-1-13 apiece. Bit of a blood rule here for Michael Frederick coming off the ground. That's the delay here for the restart. Dockers by 6.
The Swans lost Callum Mills in the opening few minutes of the game with a calf injury. Logan McDonald has a problem. And the Dockers have kicked the last 4 to lead by 6 points. 10 minutes gone, second quarter at the SCG, and Fremantle win it out of the middle through Brayshaw and now O'Meara. The kick to half forward is picked up by Schultz, who kicked the last one. Gives it to O'Meara, has plenty of time, tucks it under his arm. It's a scrappy kick though, and it's marked by Aaron Francis in the goal square when he had the chance to put the Dockers 2 goals to the good.
His kick finds Rowbottom down the corridor here for the Swans. He tried to go coast to coast, so it's a wide kick now for Hickey on the wing western side. Franklin marks uncontested just forward of halfway. Wheels and goes now. Plays on around Schultz. Inside 50. It was too deep down there for Papley. Pearce can rebound now for the Dockers. He just slides it out towards the bench on the western side. Commentary side will throw it back in. It's the Dockers 4-1-25. The Swans 3-1-19. 12 gone here in the second term.
They'll often go in then again, Freo. If the kick out a hit,
I know they're
out in the wing to Schultz, they'll go inside 50 again.
Jackson and Hickey, the 2 long mains flowing on their shoulders. Free kick to Jackson though. He kicked a big goal after an important grab for Fremantle about 5 minutes ago. Starting to come into his own as the Docker, Luke Jackson. Kicks it to half forward. Amos is under it. Blakey managed to palm it down to Parker. Handball back to Florent. Left half back for the Swans. Aaron Francis lost control of the football and he's gang tackled by a couple of Fremantle players. Another strong tackle by Schultz on Florent. That has been the energy of the Dockers throughout this quarter. And we'll have a ball up. Or is it holding the ball? It is. Against the Swans. In fact, it'll go the way of Robbie Fox. It's against Lachie Schultz. So both players seem to have control of the football. The umpire says Schultz had the chance to get rid of it. So Robbie Fox wins the free kick, left back pocket.
Came back into the side last week, Robbie Fox. Down to a 2-on-1. Young floats across the top there for the Dockers. Slides in on the follow-up now. Hickey though first to it. Hand pass to Heaney. Dummies a hand pass now. Sends it wide for Parker on the logo commentary side. Room to bounce here for the Swans veteran. And he sends it up the line to find Clark. 55 out from goal now. Lays it off by hand on McInerney. Goes inside forward 50. Little too hot for Sheether. At the back Franklin. Pearce up against the behind post with him. Goes to ground as Buddy. And the umpire says let's ball it up. Deep at the Paddington end. That's the Swans attacking zone. It's the Dockers who lead here by 6 points though. 13 go in second quarter.
It's been good, Alex Pearce, I thought. I think he's kept Buddy very, very quiet. And
Jackson taps it to a dangerous area. Heaney had a snap on goal. It went through, but you heard the umpire's whistle. Not sure where this is going. It's a Swans free kick. Directly in front. Now they want advantage. They say Heaney should have been paid the goal. Hence the boos. And now they have been paid the goal.
Yep.
Belatedly. So a major to Isaac Heaney after everyone stood and stopped for about 10 seconds. Confusion at the SCG. A Swans major though. Heaney needed that one. Scores level. 4-1-25 apiece.
Some good screen time there for the umpires.
Did you pay advantage of that late? That's almost retrospectively.
Yeah, well, I think the umpire took 10 seconds to actually signal what the free kick was for and which way it was going. I think he was looking at, this is the confusion maybe comes with the 4 umpire. He was looking at the other umpire to say, was that advantage? Is that advantage? And I think the umpire at the contest is looking at the umpire that paid the free kick saying, well, who's the free kick for? I don't know if I should, what am I paying advantage or not? There was confusion between the umpires, I think, as to what was going on.
And amid all of that, an excellent goal from Heaney, who didn't actually take full control of the football, just palmed it down to his right boot with the one hand. Snapped truly. So we've spoken about him perhaps struggling a little bit in the early part of the season. Isaac Heaney, that's an important goal.
4-1-25 apiece. We start back in the middle. Goes McLean against Jackson. Over them there for the Swans. Also in the clear down there is Parker. Plucks it free. Hand pass goes straight to Aisley for the Dockers. High ball inside 50 here for Freo. Out towards a 2-on-2. Blakey up in front. From behind him it was Tracy. At the drop there as well. Erasmus lurking. Combines with Amos. 55 from goal. I think it was smothered down there by Banfield, or off Banfield's boot. They're polling from all angles, 45 out. Now Switkowski as well trying to knock it clear. Swans have numbers in defence though. In goes Goulden. McLean can slap it clear beyond defensive 50. In comes Campbell. Works the hand pass back to McLean, who could just flare it wide, and Heaney takes a contested grab at right half back. Could be Penny on the boundary.
Logan McDonald has come back up from the room, so he's having a chat with John Longmire on the bench. He's still limping quite heavily and has tried to do a couple of run-throughs along the boundary line, but it does look like he is going to try and come back on.
An injury concern for the Swans, who have already lost one of their co-captains in Callum Mills. Off with the calf injury, Mark Sheether on as the sub as they switch it to Nick Blakey. Marks it at centre-half back. And now he's given it away a free kick. So he'll hold on to the football to try and hold things up, Nick Blakey. He's thrown it over the head of Josh Tracy, and that is 50.
I think he knew what he was doing there, Nick. Just be smart.
But what was the free kick for? Was it Heaney, the way he jumped up to mark the footy with his knee up? Or
I think when he came down, he put an arm across the face of Josh Tracy, and now it's 50. So Tracy marked to the top of the goal square, looking for his first of the afternoon to put the Dockers back in front by a goal. He converts. The Swans fans hate it. Nick Blakey furious.
I know Nick a little bit quite well. He is cheeky like that. He's very calculated. He would have thrown it probably just half a foot just high, just by the Swans defenders. It needs a little bit more time. I think the umpire made a good decision then.
Yeah, you can disguise it, can't you?
Yeah.
But Nick Blakey made it fairly obvious.
Okay. So what happened? Nick Blakey took the mark as he's come down. Tracy sort of just holding him up a little bit. Blakey swung the elbows around to try and break free, and he's collected him high. It's one that it's hard to see. You understand why the fans are booing, because you don't see it happen so much live. But you look at the replay, it's probably a fair call.
Freo by 6 points. 17 going second quarter here on Grandstand AFL.
Clever from Tracy not to jump up and catch it and just let it go over his head as well.
Exactly right. It's an art to that as well.
Yeah, step forward.
On the restart. McLean wins it down. Miss Warner. Darcy follows up though. They'll clear through Brayshaw, the Dockers. Goes inside forward 50. Lloyd floats across and chops it off there for the Swans. Untidy hand pass for Blakey. Pressure comes there from Tracy again. The umpire says this time it's a free kick for the Swans. Blakey was taken high by Tracy on that occasion. So a free kick for the man they call the Lizard at half back for the Swans.
Or the coat hanger. Look at his shoulders.
Bronx cheers from the Swans fans as a result. All in all, an entertaining game of football here at the SCG, as we anticipated. Robbie Fox's kick is into the middle of the ground. That was dangerous. It's picked off by Ethan Hughes, and 50 metres again. The third 50-metre penalty of the game, and this will take Ethan Hughes inside 50 for the Dockers. Back-to-back goals coming up potentially from 50-metre penalties for Fremantle.
A risky kick inside from the Swans. There was a lot of players in there. Hughes was able to pick it off. Now, I think it was encroaching the mark or around the protected space. Was the 50?
Against James Rowbottom. Ethan Hughes playing his 90th game across 9 seasons for the Dockers. And he's kicked his second goal of the year. Dockers jump out to a 12-point lead off the back of goals from back-to-back 50-metre penalties.
I'm liking the response from Fremantle this quarter. You can just see after that goal, everyone got around him, made sure, and it just feels like there's a lot more energy in that camp at the moment compared to what they had in the first quarter. Quite frankly, I think Swans are a little bit taken back at the moment. Undisciplined a few times, just with these free kicks, 50-metre penalties. It's going to cost you, and particularly with the scoreline the way it is and where these two teams are on the ladder, they've got to really dial in their concentration levels.
So the 50 there was given against Rowbottom for not standing on the mark where it should have been. He stood about a metre or two forward. The umpire said that's 50.
It's a major energy shift, isn't it? First quarter, it was the Swans had all the run, the extra speed out there, and Freo have actually turned the tables now, and the Swans are the ones that look a bit flat second to the ball.
5-goal turnaround since we back to the first term, and it's a wayward bounce again, so we'll recall that. Round the grounds in Hobart, where Port Adelaide leads North Melbourne by a point as we approach quarter time there. 21 plays 20, the scoreline there. Up it goes. Parker held by O'Meara. Umpire lets them play. Socket forward towards Haywood. Little collision. Lost ball. Now O'Meara goes in hard again. Brought to ground by McLean. In goes Rowbottom as well for the Swans. Only goes as far as Clark now for Fremantle. And now Erasmus can put Freo back inside forward 50. Out towards that pack of players. Missed Jai Amos, and the Swans can rebound through Lloyd. Goes by hand to Macna, and he just out to Warner on the half volley. It was an untidy kick, although Warner will hurry here up along that western side towards a 2-on-1. In comes Sheether at the drop McDonald there for the Swans. High ball inside forward 50. Can they find a marking target? It was great work out there from Hughes against Heaney, and now Ryan brought down by Heaney. Loose football. Sheether can get their hand pass through his own attacking goal, almost like a rush behind. That is the result, a point. He had Franklin alongside him, and he got their handball away, but it missed Franklin, went through for a point.
Can we just recognise Alex Pearce's effort going back with a flight and not taking his eye off the footy?
That was huge.
Massive.
Dockers by 11 points, by the way.
Poor Mark Sheether. Try to get hands on the footy, and you try to get it to Lance Franklin, so it was panic stations all round. As Robbie Fox takes an excellent mark off the Fremantle kick back into play.
You do play a lot of handball games at training. You might just think we'll get it through the goals.
And now it's 50 the way of Sydney against Michael Walters, and the Swans fans love that. After Fremantle kick back-to-back goals from 50-metre penalties, the Swans might get one back. It might go the way of Robbie Fox against Michael Walters. So Robbie Fox will kick from 15 metres out, pretty much directly in front.
Grew up as a forward, Robbie Fox. Playing in defence was quite new to him when he came to the Swans, so generally he's pretty comfortable in front of goal, so have his opportunity to get on the scoreboard.
He hasn't kicked a goal this season. It's just his 4th game for the campaign. 8 goals in 72 games of AFL football. And he's got his 9th, makes the goal umpire work. But it's 50-metre penalties aplenty here at the SCG, and goals are coming as a result of them. Robbie Fox with the major. The Swans 5-2-32. Fremantle 6-1-37. We've got 22 minutes in the second quarter.
Fun fact about Robbie Fox, actually a school teacher on his days off, actually. We had a few kind of, I guess, kids come out to training on school holidays, and you'd always hear from the sidelines, Mr. Fox, Mr. Fox. So he did a fair bit of placement within the local area. So very bright young man, Robbie.
It's got a good ring to it, Mr. Fox.
Oh yeah, the fantastic Mr. Fox.
Absolutely. You go teach at a private school, be Sir Fox.
Yeah. My young boy is Easton Fox, his middle name. If he wants to drop the sprig, he can just be a much cooler Easton Fox as opposed to Easton Sprig.
Glad you said it.
Dockers by 5 points, 23 going second term, approaching half time. Momentum swung back ever so slightly Sydney's way. On the restart, though, O'Meara competes with Warner. And Jagger can win the clearance here for the Dockers. Why they go inside 50 through Switkowski up the corridor. Strong grab, no Erasmus. In fact, Amos gave away. No, he's paid the mark. Amos has paid the mark here, 40 out directly in front. Just the umpire coming in to reset the mark. And Amos will have the set shot from 35 out directly in front.
It's rare these days that you come out of a centre bounce, couple of handballs, then hit someone lace out. So I think Swans defenders, and particularly that stoppage, would be pretty disappointed in themselves if that one looked a little bit too easy.
It's been end-to-end here. Both teams just responding at either end. Amos kicked 3 goals against the Hawks last week. Goals in every game since round 3 for Jai Amos. That started approach. Kicks from 40 and wastes it. Out of bounds on the full. No change to the score. Freo 6-1-37. The Swans are 5-2-32. 24 gone second term.
A big miss from Jai Amos. He looks a lovely footballer. That wasn't his best effort. As Blakey goes short from the right back pocket after Amos's kick went out of bounds on the full. Finds Aaron Francis.
Did you say something spring about Amos?
No, that was
normally
Garby.
would. That was Garby.
No, that was Garby. He was there
excellent.
first.
You like that one, Cal?
I love those. I love them.
As Tom Hickey is brought down by Sean Darcy.
Hey.
In fact, the free kick goes the way of Darcy. A number of decisions have left the home fans bemused. Darcy on his left kicks the Dockers into attack. Francis off his hands, picked up by Amos. Well done by Blakey to get in front of Tracy. Amos with the second effort, left forward pocket for Fremantle, knocks it away. Ball likely to go over the boundary line. It does now, courtesy of Nick Blakey.
Now,
Dockers with a 5-point lead.
Knowing the Sydney crowd, Cal, booing was a big thing last week, but knowing the Sydney crowd, at halftime we might get some boos here for the men in green.
I think that may be a high possibility.
But hopefully the Wiggles can cheer everyone up. They're playing at half-time as well as part of Red Kite Day. Walters evades Warner. Ball comes free. Umpire says holding the ball. So great chase and tackle from Warner. Sun gives it back.
Love to be a shareholder in the Wiggles.
Yeah, well, I saw their sound check earlier, so they're going to be performing as part of the Red Kite Day festivities. Half-time. Toward the outer side. Cox with the spoil in from the side. Back edge of the square. Recovered here by Florent. 1-2 with Franklin gets it back. Florent goes to fend on Ryan. Hand pass there goes straight to Sarong. Dockers back in possession, although only not for very long, as Switkowski is tackled by Haywood. Umpire says too high. Free kick going Fremantle's way. They lead here by 5 points. 26 gone in the second term.
That was a fair decision. Switkowski slung in the tackle. Flares it out wide to half-back for Brennan Cox. He was named in the All-Australian squad last year. Leads the competition in spoils, having another fine season down back for the Dockers. Short to O'Driscoll. Swans players behind the ball, so switch it back to Luke Ryan. Deep inside his own defensive 50. Has a bounce. Now looks for Erasmus. Will it stay in? Will. Centimetre perfect, as a famous commentator once said. Erasmus marks it on the wing here at the SCG. Time ticking down in the second quarter, 26 minutes gone. Fremantle lead by 5 points.
Spotted by Macklin on the man on the mark. It was great work by him. Papley on the loose ball. Evades Walker. Goes the big fend on Erasmus, but he brings him down. So took on the tackler and lost. Great play by Erasmus and also Walker. The Dockers are away here up the western side. Banfield in the contest with Gould, and it's off hands over for a throw-in. Just sort of halfway in Freo's attacking half.
I don't think Lance Franklin would be too impressed with Tom Papley then. He was one out. I don't think many defenders want to be one out with Lance.
Fremantle by 5 points here as we approach half-time. Hickey and Darcy down to Parker here for the Swans. Just hurries it up towards half-forward. Pearce and Franklin see it over in front of the old grandstands. 75 or so around from the Sydney attacking goal, Paddington end. Dockers by 5 points.
What have you made of the Pearce-Franklin battle? Franklin just the 4 possessions, Jace Addington?
No, I think Pearce has been on top. He's been quite influential in the air, some really strong spoils.
Sean Darcy tries to fist it away from the contest. Rowbottom gathers it. Pearce beats Franklin to this one again, but he chases him down though. With the strong tackle, the ball spilled free, picked up now by Parker. O'Meara with the tackle on him, and Parker's caught holding the ball.
He did get his hand to adjust Pearce, but still a great effort from Franklin.
Plays on quickly, O'Meara to Sarong, looking for Jackson at half forward, marked it, kept going. Luke Jackson with pace. Can he get away from the tackle? He does. Snaps on goal. Brilliant goal from Luke Jackson. Fantastic, Major. His second, and that is why there is so much hype around the number 9 for Freo in Luke Jackson. The brilliance in an individual sense, just like that.
Couldn't agree more with you, Garbs. There aren't many guys that height that can break away with the explosive power, fend off Blakey, compose themselves, and then kick a goal like that. Terrific effort there from Alex Pearce. Not only that one, having the one-on-one against Franklin up the ground, but looking at the replay now, tell you what, there aren't many big men. Bit of exposure there on the backside.
Full moon.
Cheeky goal.
I think you would agree that they're hard to find those kind of players.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, someone of that size, it's that powerful and explosive with the speed and the skill level to be able to back yourself in, take it on, and then finish like you do.
A couple of goals for Luke Jackson. 11 on the year. 11 points is Freo's lead. On the restart goes Hickey again. Overrun by O'Meara. Brayshaw goes in hard. Hickey wins it away here for the Swans. Although Darcy, though, picks off the hand pass. He has it with Sarong. On that left boot to Walters. Leads up the ground. Marks on the outer wing. Puts them inside forward 50 here. The Dockers, and a strong grab taken by Amos. This time, no mistake about that. Strong overhead. Stuck out the mitts. Will go back and take a set shot from the very same place he missed from a short time ago. He kicked out of bounds on the full, Jai Amos. He does have quite a strange approach in his set shot routine.
Be a nervous ball drop on this one.
It's not quite Josh Kennedy-esque, West Coast Josh Kennedy, but it's just very slow on the approach here. Jai Amos
Gets very close to the man of the mark as well, if you watch.
There he is on that left boot. Sends it high, goalward, missing on the left-hand side for a minor score. Dockers by a clean 2 goals, 7-2-44 plays the Sydney Swans, who are 5-2-32, approaching the half-hour mark of the second term.
Worrying signs here for the Swans, and the Dockers have won it back at half-forward. Michael Frederick darts around the Ryan Clark challenge, kicks it again inside 50 off the hands of Jackson. Deep in defence is Florent under pressure, gets the kick away as Schultz was bearing down on him. Sits up for O'Driscoll though. Dockers in attack, they find Sarong. All Fremantle here at the SCG. Sarong will kick from 40 out on a 45-degree angle to try and put the Dockers 18 points up as we get close to half-time.
We've spoken a bit about this quarter around Freo's pressure in that front half has really lifted, and Lockie Schultz, he's been the main man for me. Just his intensity to attack the player and attack the footy has been unbelievable. He was involved in that pressure play as well to allow Freo to get the ball back.
He has been impressive from his first game in the AFL, Caleb Sarong, the rising star from 2020 across the competition. That's not his best effort on goal though, still searching for his first major of the year, through Freo behind. Fremantle are 7-2-44, the Swans 5-2-32, the Dockers lead by 13.
From the kick out, the Swans moved on quickly to Lloyd, 2-time BNF. Now wide to Cunningham.
Defensively, they look set up a lot better this quarter than what they did in the first quarter for them.
Swans kick up the outer side. Big pack grab for McLean. Setting up here the Swans. Short kick out to find Lloyd again. Now Campbell comes inboard. Evades the tackle. Goes inside 50 now. Up goes Goulden. Competes with Aish. At the drop. Swooping through. Overrun by Papley. Hayward tries again here for the Swans. Picked up here by Walker of the Dockers. And now Brayshaw can clear beyond defensive 50.
Amos underneath it. Takes the mark. Important one for the Dockers at right half back. And will go into half time with the lead. Amos goes short. Finds James Aish. Playing game number 152, James Aish, but only his second at the SCG. Switches it across defensive 50 to Luke Ryan, who leads the competition in rebound 50s. That's another one for him. To O'Driscoll. Dockers happy to slow things right down. 32-minute mark of the second quarter, holding a 13-point lead, which they'll take into the main break. Is the Dockers season up and going? Maybe, just maybe. Can they claim a big scalp on the road? Sydney have got plenty of work to do. The Dockers by 13 at the main break.
Trailed by 12 points at quarter time, and now 13 points is their half-time lead, as you heard there from Daniel Garb. Goal kickers in the game so far for Fremantle. Luke Jackson has 2. Singles to Schultz, Hughes, Tracy, Switkowski and Banfield. Meanwhile, for the Sydney Swans, they're 5 goal kickers, all individuals. Heaney, McDonald, Rowbottom, McInerney and Robbie Fox with his first goal of the season in that second term as well. It's the Dockers 7-3-45. The Swans are 5-2-32. Here on Grandstand AFL. Very quickly at Bellerive, the second term underway there. Port Adelaide 4-3-27 leads North Melbourne 3-3-21. A reminder, of course, you can find that as you can every game on the ABC Listen app. If it's not via the ABC AFL button, as this game currently is, it's on the AFL Extra toggle as well, so you can find it there. That's North and Port Adelaide. Coming up later on, Hawthorn and Melbourne, and our Saturday night games are Brisbane, Essendon and Carlton up against the Western Bulldogs. But But Jason Saddington, Callum Sinclair, your thoughts on the opening half here at the SCG? The Dockers now by 13 points.
Yeah, certainly it was the Fremantle was the main story of that quarter. A completely different side to what we saw in the first quarter. They really were struggling, but I thought I'd just dive into the reasons why. They probably had close to probably half a dozen chase down tackles, particularly in the first half of that second quarter. I thought they were absolutely brilliant, their small forwards. Aerially, they were much better. Tracy, Jackson and Hughes had a real impact. Probably sparked from that amazing mark we saw in the back end of that first quarter. But I think the umpires have been a little bit kinder to Fremantle. There was a few 50-metre free kicks. We could probably argue that they were potentially there. But from a Swans perspective, they're really struggling from a centre bounce point of view. 10 centre clearances to 3. There's probably 2 or 3 times out of the centre bounce that Darcy's getting a clear hand to it. They're walking it out of the front of that centre bounce, and they're hitting their forwards lace out. So they've had far too many shots on goal there. Kind of felt like Sydney were playing a little bit like Fremantle were in that first quarter. Their forwards kind of couldn't really get into the game then. Franklin's probably convincingly beaten by Pearce at the moment. I don't know what they're going to do there, but in terms of their centre bounce, I think they've probably got to throw Papley a little bit in there now. I think they're really struggling with the absence of Callum Mills being injured at the start of that first quarter. So for me, it starts in the middle, and particularly the centre bounce. They've got to need to have a look at that at half time.
Couldn't agree more there, Cal. And you said Cal Mills, that's a massive loss, obviously going down early in that first quarter. And their mids did struggle that quarter. You know, Goulden, we saw had a fantastic first quarter with the 12 touches. He only had 3 that quarter, much quieter. Warner was quieter. And it was the Freo mids that started to get on top. You know, Sarong had a fantastic quarter, winning 10 possessions and getting the ball going forward. Wow. Darcy's the other one. Yeah. Not only was he getting his hands on the ball as the ruckman, but he had 5 clearances himself, and he was able to, mainly by handball, get it and just handball the ball forward and get it going their way. And you did mention, you know, the Freo forwards, they brought the energy, they brought the chase, they brought the pressure, which allowed, you know, Schultz was a major player in that for me, to get some free kicks and get some goals from their pressure acts. But then Jackson as a forward taking marks and kicking goals was ultra impressive through that quarter. A massive turnaround from Freo in their energy and enthusiasm, and certainly their intent in that front half of the field. Big concerns for the Swans. You know, they've got to go in at half time and go, well, if McDonald's struggling, perhaps doesn't come back on the field. Mills is out. You know, what's their target going forward? Papley is someone you mentioned maybe he needs to go through the midfield, but they need him to step up and kick goals. Heaney the same. You know, Franklin needs to at least try and halve his contest a little bit more with Pearce. But they've probably got some demons sitting in there. It's like, oh, here we are again, guys. You know, we're not playing great footy. We thought first quarter we're maybe up and about today. Here we are. We're back in struggle town. The pressure starts to build. You know, can they find a way out of this?
Well, they're quite similar sides in terms of their age bracket as well. They've still got a big chunk of those players. I know, Spriggy, you brought it up pre-game, that are sitting around that 50-game mark. Those are the guys in the engine room that probably need to go to that next level, particularly in that second half. But that's a great point you brought up, Sado. They've been in this situation a fair bit now, probably other than the Geelong game, where they're going to half-time going, oh, God, this team's now got back into the... back in contention. So Isaac Heaney's probably one as well. I think probably Ryan's probably keeping him very accountable, and probably Isaac's probably worrying a little bit too much about him. But you probably have to with Ryan. He's very effective with where he positions himself on the ground, and he's been pretty handy as well. Well,
we spoke about Heaney and Papley before the game, those two needing to lift. So Isaac Heaney, 7 disposals, the 1 goal. Tom Papley in his 150 had 5 touches, and he hasn't troubled the scorers. So they're the X factors for Sydney. They need to lift.
Galby, allow me for a second. That is the star-studded, multi-award, multi-millionaire Wiggles. Dorothy the Dinosaur, Captain Feathersword, they're all out there. The whole complement. There's, I think, 8 main Wiggles now, plus the other characters and the costumes. So that is just fantastic. Wiggles just bringing the crowd to life. If the footy wasn't enough here, with Freo leading by 13 points at half-time. News time is coming up here on ABC Radio. Very quickly, just taking one more look at what's happening at Bellerive, where Port Adelaide now leads North Melbourne by 19 points. 6-4-40 plays 3-3-21 14, roughly midway through the second term there at Bellerive Oval in Hobart. And we'll bring you more details about that coming up very, very shortly. Bear is now asleep. Shh, shh, shh. Let's get to the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Police and protesters have clashed in fiery scenes in Melbourne's CBD. Right-wing anti-immigration demonstrators were seen doing the Nazi salute on the steps of Parliament House, but they were met by large crowds of counter-protesters and a heavy police presence. Visions of the protest show police deploying capsicum spray on some demonstrators after projectiles were hurled between the groups. Police say a 46-year-old man has been killed in a shark attack on South Australia's Eyre Peninsula. They say the Elliston man was surfing when he was attacked and is now missing. Police, SES and locals are trying to find him. No one else was injured during the attack. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan has returned to his home city of Lahore after the High Court in Islamabad granted him protective bail. The 70-year-old's been given 2 weeks bail after the country's anti-corruption body arrested him earlier this week. It sparked violent protests and clashes in which at least 8 people have died. As he left the court, Mr. Khan posted a video on social media saying he'd been held against his will.
We have left for Lahore by the grace of Allah. IG of Islamabad police tried his utmost not to let us go, saying it was very dangerous outside. But when I got out and forcefully warned him that I would tell the whole of the country that he was forcibly stopping us and kidnapping us, he let us go.
Ukrainian missiles have hit targets in the occupied region of Luhansk, about 100 kilometres behind the front lines. Photos posted online show a large building reduced to rubble. The distance from the front line has sparked speculation among analysts that Ukraine may have used new longer-range missiles. It comes after the UK this week announced it had delivered Storm Shadow cruise missiles with a range of up to 300 kilometres. Papua New Guinea's Foreign Minister Justin Kashenko says he resigned to clear the air amid outrage at the cost of a trip to attend King Charles' coronation. The BBC's Kat Wiener reports.
The decision to send a delegation of 30 people to the ceremony in London last week had already proved controversial in the Pacific Island nation, where more than 40% of people live in poverty. Anger was exacerbated by scenes of first-class travel and a luxury shopping spree posted online by Mr. Kachenko's daughter, who accompanied him on the trip. When Mr. Kachenko, an Australian-born white man, denounced those criticising his daughter as primitive animals, it proved the final straw, sparking large protests outside Parliament House in Port Moresby on Friday. Mr. Kachenko said he was resigning to clear the air ahead of a state visit next week by President Biden.
The Victorian Liberal Party is trying to regroup after a controversial MP was dumped from the Victorian Party room. Yvette Gray with the details.
Victorian Liberal leader John Pesutto will today be joined by colleague Jess Wilson for a housing-related media conference as he works to show a united front within the party. Yesterday, Moira Deeming was expelled from the parliamentary team in a 19-11 vote after she threatened legal action against Mr Pesutto. Victorian Liberal Party President Greg Mirabella has since emailed all members, urging them to unite behind the parliamentary team and its leader. He also says reports the Administrative Committee is actively considering expelling Ms Deeming from the party are incorrect, as it's ultimately a matter for the State Assembly.
Brisbane's Lord Mayor has renewed his push for a vacant quarantine hub to be converted into crisis accommodation. Peter Quattrocelli reports.
Adrian Schrinner has been calling for the federal government's facility in Pinkenbar on Brisbane's north side to be used to accommodate people sleeping rough. The federal government has previously said the site is too far from necessary support services and not suitable. Social welfare groups have voiced similar concerns, saying the units don't have kitchens or laundries, and the site is not set up to accommodate people for long periods of time. But the Lord Mayor has today announced he'll commit $1 million in next month's council budget to pay for modifications, including transport.
The federal government says it's willing to work with state and local counterparts on the issue, but hasn't received a formal request. And WorkSafe is investigating an accident in Perth South where a man in his 20s had his arm trapped in a conveyor belt. Authorities were called to a business on Marriott Road at Jandakot this morning. The Department of Fire and Emergency Services says officers used an angle grinder to cut the man free. He was taken to Royal Perth Hospital. He has critical injuries to his arms, but is in a stable condition. You're now up to date with the very latest from ABC News.
ABC Listen. It's hard not to love Bluey, whatever your age. So here's your chance to take a deep dive behind the scenes.
We showed a whole game of cricket, just shots of seagulls and churches in Adelaide. The cricket commentator was voiced by Adam Hills, who's an Australian comedian. He actually came up with a lot of the little puns, and they're really quite funny, so we sort of slipped them in where we could.
The new podcast, Behind Bluey, only on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Darcy snatched out to the right, goes inside 50 here. Well positioned. Lockie Schultz gave a nudge there on Lloyd. Umpire let it go, and Schultz takes the chest mark. Lockie Schultz, 1 goal, 2 last week against the Hawks. Here he is on the approach for the Dockers' 4th. He lets fly with a set shot and makes no mistake.
Jackson tapped it to a dangerous area. Heaney had a snap on goal. It went through, but you heard the umpire's whistle. Not sure where this is going. It's a Swans free kick. Directly in front. Now they want advantage. They say Heaney should have been paid the goal. Hence the boos. And now they have been paid the goal. Belatedly. Pearce beats Franklin to this one again. But he chases him down though. With the strong tackle, the ball spilled free, picked up now by Parker. O'Meara with the tackle on him, and Parker's caught holding the ball. Plays on quickly, O'Meara to Sarong, looking for Jackson at half forward, marked it, kept going. Luke Jackson with pace. Can he get away from the tackle? He does. Snaps on goal. Brilliant goal from Luke Jackson.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
The sounds of the second quarter at the SCG. Half-time where Fremantle joins or leads the Sydney Swans 7-3, 45, 5-2, 32. 13 points is that margin. Thank you for joining us via ABC Sport. This is Grandstand AFL. My name is Brett Sprigg alongside Dan Garb, Jason Saddington, Callum Sinclair and Poppy Penny on the boundary. Back down to Poppy shortly. The Wiggles have just wrapped up their set, and Saturday I was very impressed. I didn't think they'd do hot potato, but that second encore was just absolutely immense, and the crowd loved it. But they're doing lap one, which is fantastic as well. Just soaking up all the adoration of the crowd here on Red Kite Day, which is fantastic. They're all out there. The players, meanwhile, make their way out there. And the but I was going to mention was that the Swans weren't on in that second quarter, of course. It's been a 25-point turnaround from that quarter-time margin of 12 points the Swans' way. So Freo now leading by 13 points at the half, as I mentioned. I'll get to a few more stats shortly as well. Around the grounds in the National Rugby League, it's South Sydney and the West Tigers currently 0-0 in the first half there. That match just getting underway. Earlier here in the VFL, happening across the road at... is there a consensus on whether we call it Lakeside or Tramway or whatever? It's the neighbouring venue here at the SCG.
Lakeside.
Well, they're calling it Tramway now. So this is what I'm just trying to give you a traditional place.
Let's move on. Go on.
Williamstown beat Sydney by 33 points, and that was sort of the curtain raiser of sorts. They played the game there, but obviously the main event is right here on the famous turf of the Sydney Cricket Ground. Callum Sinclair back alongside us as well. The Swans out to break a 3-game losing run, while Fremantle had a big win last week, of course. They're building on that. Luke Jackson's been impressive, a highlight for them in the first half.
No, he certainly has, and we probably had an eye on him pre-game to see what kind of game he would deliver after what he did to Hawthorn last week. But, mate, he's been absolutely brilliant, particularly in that second quarter. I think what's helped him is that his smaller forwards were getting up the ground, causing a few turnovers, which actually gave him opportunity. So if I'm looking at both sides, I think this is a season-defining half, I think, for Fremantle and Sydney. I think we're going to be in store for a pretty fierce second half of footy here at the SCG. But very impressed with what Freo did, and I don't think Swans are going to go into the half-time being too happy.
No, they wouldn't. So we had hot potato at half time. I think us as commentators, a bit of hot sausage roll at half time. And the Swans would have got a bit of hot horse, I think, at half time. Cal, because
he's generally pretty hot.
He
I'm not going to lie, he's never cold. Actually, he can be. Sorry, mate, butted it.
No, absolutely. I'm sure he would have had a crack at their intensity around the footy. They got beaten in the midfield. They're a young midfield. Mills out, like we mentioned, is a hurt. Parker is, as the experienced player in there, he's had a decent half with the 18 touches, but they need Rowbottom and Goulden and some of the younger players to really step up and try and get that midfield back on their terms, as they did in the first quarter. They dominated as a midfield in the first quarter. Horse would have certainly ramped them up, I think, at half time as the major players to get them back into this game and challenge their forwards a little bit too. If they are going to kick a decent score here, without McDonald potentially, Buddy, he doesn't have the same impact as what he's had previously. He's trying to get back into the game. They're the key areas I think Horse would have hit at.
And that Fife still have Justin Longmuir's sleeve as well as the sub.
Yeah, well, that's even more firepower for Freo, and even potentially someone to roll through the midfield and add some more firepower for them as well.
We've spoken so much this season about Darcy and Jackson, the combination, how it works. Half-time, albeit, they're arguably the two best players on the ground. So Sean Darcy's had 5 inside 50s. He's had 5 clearances, 19 hit-outs compared to 10 for Hickey. 4 score involvements. Luke Jackson, the 11 disposals, 2 score involvements, a couple of goals, a few big grabs. They are shining for Fremantle, and this is what Dockers fans have been waiting for all season and what critics have been panning all season.
It is, and that dynamic doesn't come literally overnight. I know on paper these guys, you would expect them to have immediate impact together, but what a luxury that Troy Longmuir have, Justin Longmuir, sorry, that's his brother. Justin Longmuir has up his sleeve to throw in Luke Jackson in the middle of the ground. Put Darcy forward. Darcy doesn't look like the most traditional forward, but he does get shots on goal from time to time. So look, it's going to be this is a long-term strategy and a long-term target that Fremantle have done to get Luke Jackson into the club. They've got a lot of footy ahead of them, Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson, and I think this afternoon is a really good display of how that dynamic can work.
By the way, our text line is broken. It's an ABC-wide thing. It's not just our AFL text line running out of Melbourne. So 0437 774 774. You can keep texting if you want, but we're not seeing them right across the day. Hopefully it comes back for our calls later on, but in the meantime, our text line is down, but great to have you company nonetheless via ABC Radio, News Radio, on ABC Sport Digital, and of course by the ABC Listen app.
I've actually just got a text then from the old Swans physio giving us a massive pump up, saying how good we're going. So shout out to Matt Cameron.
It's good. You can't see the good stuff coming through, but you can't see the bad stuff either, Cal. So it's sort of 50-50.
There's a couple of bad texts coming.
Cal's personal text line.
What's the number again? A few more numbers go. We to half time.
So the other big story here, of course, Callum Mills subbed off in the first few minutes of the game, so that's required Swans on ballers to step up. Luke Parker has 18 disposals, 4 clearances. Warner with 17. Goulden 15, and for the Dockers, Caleb Sarong having another fine game, 15 disposals, 4 clearances, 5 score involvements. Jackson with 11 touches, Luke Ryan with 10, Brayshaw has 10, as does Sean Darcy.
Cloudy skies, rain staying away for now. We've had the wiggles, a few wobbles in the first half as well. It's a matter of who can just settle into this second half, because it is season on the line stuff for the Sydney Swans and Fremantle, because one of these sides will be 3-6, the other 4-5. It's a huge difference as far as approaching the midway point of the season. The Dockers still with Geelong and Melbourne to come. They'll have a big scalp here today. They're first at the SCG against the Swans in nearly 12 years. Getting us back underway for the second half on Grandstand AFL. Here's Daniel Garb.
Swans have already dropped 2 games at the SCG this season, trying to avoid a third. Darcy and Hickey bump into each other. Rowbottom tackles Sarong and then falls on top of him. We'll have a ball up next to the bullseyes in the middle of the SCG. Darcy well on top in the ruck battle with Tom Hickey in for his first game of the season. Palms it down to Sarong, socket off the ground by Brayshaw, picked up by Walters. Quick handball to Aish, missed him. Rowbottom got it for the Swans. Now Parker finds Papley in space in his 150th. He left it behind. And Walker gathers it for for Fremantle. Back to Clark, and now he's turned it over to McLean. Spoiled away from him by O'Meara. McLean gets it back. Kick to the top of the square. Franklin marks. He's been paid it, I think. Yes, he has. So Alex Pearce ran away with the football. Franklin gathered it, tried to play on. Now he's caught holding the ball. Chaos here at the SCG, top of the square. Franklin gives away the chance to kick a certain goal, caught holding the ball.
Pearce chips to Young, now Walker. Still trying to process that action from Buddy Franklin. Absolutely extraordinary. O'Meara comes up the line. The Dockers with O'Driscoll at half back. Franklin, for all money, had a certain set shot goal, but played on. Gave it straight back to Freo. Great work from Alex Pearce. On the outer side, though, meanwhile, Fox for the Swans. Hand pass back to Warner. They turn it over again. Pearce slides in. It's off his hands and over for a throw-in. 65 around from Sydney's goal, Randwick end.
He'd be disappointed in himself in that decision, Lance. I'm sure someone on the bench is going to be pretty disappointed in themselves too.
He remains stuck on 1,054 goals. 3 shy of Doug Wade's 1,057. Freo still by 13 points here. A couple minutes go on third term. All thrown back in. Brayshaw dumped, dispossessed. The umpire says holding the ball. Great tackle it was by Rowbottom.
James Rowbottom, kick to goal in the first quarter. Spots it up to the top of the square. Well done, though, by the Dockers, and Jordan Clark getting in front of that Packers. Buddy Franklin rushed at the footy trying to mark it. Big defensive grab. There's Luke Ryan. Left back pocket for the Dockers. Pokes it up the wing. Will Gould cuts across that pack and takes the mark. Handball to Goulden. Wants to go all the way back to Harry Cunningham. Dockers forwards putting pressure on again. Now Gould has it once more. Kicks to the right forward pocket for the Swans, and at the front of that pack is Brendan Cox, taking an excellent defensive mark. So the Dockers with all the answers at the moment. They lead by 13 points, 2.5 gone in the third quarter.
It was much like the first quarter with the Swans defenders able to take intercept marks. So far this quarter already Freo with 2 marks inside defensive 50.
Cox sets it up, commentary side. Tracy up in front, big grab. Looks to work it on. Steps up his line, umpire says play on. Kicks around, Will Gould up towards half forward. Francis tangled down there in the contest. Now against Amos. Plucked free by Switkowski to Aish. Swings it across his body here for Jackson. Strong mark, top of the square. We'll have a set shot from directly in front, 20 metres out.
This is good from Jackson. Really taking advantage of the, or probably the exposed defence that Sydney has with Dane Rampy and the 2 McCartan brothers out, really capitalising. So wonders for his confidence.
And it was a clever kick from Aish as well. Yeah, he took the time to kick it to Jackson's advantage. He gave it enough height. He did have to kick it across his body, but it was a deliberate kick to Jackson and his advantage.
Never kicked 3 goals as a Docker. He's got 2 so far this afternoon. On the approach, Jackson. Pretty simple set shot this. Straight over the goal umpire's hat. Big Luke Jackson's got 3. Fremantle extends their lead up to 19 points. It's a game high early in this third term at the SCG. Poppy Penny on the boundary.
Fremantle are going to need Luke Jackson in the forward line because it does look like Jai Amos has come off. He was limping to the bench. The doctor and the physio are just chatting to him now. Nat Fyfe isn't warming up just yet, but keeping an eye on that.
And we came into the game looking at going, well, the Swans depleted tall defenders. You know, Freo are going to be a chance. They do need Jackson and their tall forwards to stand up. And that's the difference in the game at the moment. We're seeing the Swans really hurting without McCartan and Rampy out there. They are getting exposed.
Action Jackson. They said he couldn't play forward. There may be an absence of Swans' key defenders, but he has taken 6 marks and kicked 3 goals straight. Dockers out to a 19-point lead. 5 minutes gone. Start of the third quarter at the SCG as Darcy palms it down to Sarong. Swans win it back though. Middle of the ground is Luke Parker. Goes straight down the corridor. The leap from McLean over the back of Cox. Ball spills free, picked up by Cox. Pearce is tackled by Heaney. And now Ryan is caught by Ryan Clark. We'll have a ball up right forward pocket for the Swans, who need to do a lot of work. Clouds gathering here at the SCG.
Dockers by 19. Ball in the air round weekend. One down by Darcy. That's a Sarong. In the back of him was Heaney. The umpire ball up again.
And I think that's what the Swans have got to do now. Get it in there, force a few stoppages, build a little bit of pressure, create a little bit of surge and uncomfortableness for the...
Inside 50 now. Ball up. Cleared away here by the Dockers. O'Driscoll Missed Cunningham. Banfield chops the hand pass out wide now for the run of Tracy. Has some room to bounce here for Fremantle. Kicks up inside forward 50. Jackson's got 2 to beat. Blakey gets back there. Jackson keeps his feet at the back. Onto the loose ball in the pocket. He's still going, Luke Jackson. Has support there with Frederick. Gets to the hand pass to him. Frederick slams it home. The Dockers have another one. They are looking super, super dangerous, the Dockers. Out to a 25-point lead here at the SCG. 9-3-57 plays Sydney 5-2-32. 6 gone third term. Grandstand AFL via ABC Sport. Jason Saddington.
And it's our man again, Luke Jackson. Big. We worked super hard to actually get forward enough there to create a contest for Freo. A 2v1, and he was able to just probably almost push Nick Blakey out of the way, perhaps a free kick straight into his teammate. They both skittled. Jackson quick on the follow-up, and then Frederick joined in to help out, get the handball received, kick the goal. But gee, the momentum and the energy in Freo at the moment, and the Swans really struggling for that X factor, that target to going inside 50. They don't look dangerous at the moment. It's almost like they need to move something around and isolate a target, whether it's Heaney or a Papley, to start to look dangerous as they start to go in 50.
Fremantle lead by 25 points, start of the third quarter, and Caleb Sarong is dominating as well. Another clearance for him. Fremantle into attack again. Schultz looking for Jackson deep in attack. Swans win it back through Lloyd. Now Florent, quick handball to Blakey. Cunningham deep in the right back pocket. Dockers have numbers around this. Switkowski just outside 50, palms it down. McInerney with the tackle. We'll have a ball up just outside 50 for Fremantle.
Centre clearance again there, Sado. They're getting absolutely killed. I don't know, put McLean in there. Just try something.
Momentum all Fremantle's way. Darcy down here to Erasmus. Dumps, lost the football. Switkowski beats Robert. Gets the hand pass off though, only as far as Campbell for the Swans. His kick was smothered. This time Robert goes into the back of Schultz, and the umpire ball up 55 out from Swans' goal.
Sarong, 17 disposals, 10 contested possessions, 6 clearances, 6 score involvements.
25 points by the Dockers. Darcy Harris a kick out of the ruck here. Too deep for Walters. Tracy, thrown out at the time by Gould, and now his handball goes wide out of bounds for a throw-in right on the junction of 50 at the Swans' attacking end. They need some goals, and fast. Freo leads by 25.
Swan season in danger of unravelling. Depleted in the key defensive stocks. Callum Mills, their co-captain, reigning best and fairest winner, left the ground in the first few minutes with a calf injury. Subbed out. Have another ball up in the 50-metre paint. Left half forward for Fremantle. Darcy looking for Erasmus. Rowbottom doing some hard work, gets the kick clear. Clark gathers it though, and up and under one to centre half forward. Off the hands of O'Driscoll, Rowbottom gets it again. His handball missed. Papley, gathered though by McInerney. Can the Swans get going now? Handball to Hayward. Kicks looking for McLean just inside 50. Well done by Ryan to cut across. Forced to Braden Campbell. He'll run into an open goal. The Swans need this badly. Braden Campbell with the major. And the margin is back to 19 points in favour of the Dockers.
Terrific crumb from Braden Campbell. Not a player you see get forward a lot more across half back. Maybe he's the go-to to try and generate something for the Swans. They need that little spark. They need someone in that front half of the field to really create some excitement, to create some energy, to try and get the ball heading back through the goals for them. Braden Campbell, I think he still came off half back in that instance, but it was a great run from him to try and do something different and ignite something different for the Swans.
He's playing on the wing at the moment, and that's what you want your wingmen to do. You want your wingmen to be really testing your opposition forward of the footy, try and score. But Hayden McLean, look, he had maybe a little bit lucky there, the Swans, but they were certainly outnumbered, they were, the Swans.
Poppy Penny on the boundary, down to you.
Logan McDonald did come off and he's now sitting on the back row of the bench, so it looks like his day is done. The Swans are down to 3 on the bench.
Dockers clear through Brayshaw, had to meet the football. Tracy couldn't control it though. Fox here for the Swans, sweeping hand pass off half back to Hickey. Kicks around Darcy. Half volley pick up there was awkward for Hayward. That's off hands and over for a throw-in in front of the Bill O'Reilly stand on the eastern side of the SCG. 19 points is the Freo lead. 10 gone third term. Both of these clubs' seasons on a knife's edge. In this second half. Still plenty of footy left though. Aish First pair of hands from the throw-in, dispossessed though by Rowbottom, and now Goulden dumped over the boundary line by Caleb Sarong. Will throw it back in again.
It'll be a gutsy win for the Swans from here. Trailed by 19 points. Callum Mills, superstar midfielder. They lost him in the opening few minutes. They've now lost Logan McDonald as well. So down to 3 on the bench. Sheether, the sub, is on. Nat Fyfe still waiting in the best for the Dockers to enter the game. Hickey wins it on the wing to Sydney. Back to Goulden. He was caught high by Erasmus. So he'll win the free kick on the wing in front of the Bill O'Reilly stand. Short on the diagonal to Rowbottom. Gives it back to Goulden. Needs to dart around a tackle and does so. Florence under pressure and he's caught by Sarong. Got the handball free, but only as far as Tracy. Rowbottom tries to bullock his way through. He's caught. The Swans had a chance there to kick inside 50 and they wasted it. Ball up on the wing.
He's had 18 touches, Goulden, so he's not, he's not firing the football, but it just feels like every time he's getting nearer edge that Freo are really, really on him.
37 touches last week for Earl Goulden. It was a career high for him at the MCG against the Pies. Kick from Rowbottom goes up in the air towards half forward. Cox in the contest with McLean. Tucks it away towards his own advantage here. Brayshaw swoops through, as does Young for Freo. Parker goes in over the football, beats Clark coming the other way. Cox here to Young here again for the Dockers. Now Hughes receives the handball. Looks for an option. Goes by hand himself to Sarong. He'll flare it across the defensive goal mouth. It's Dicey. And comes McInerney in the contest there late on O'Driscoll. Loose football. Franklin in to support as well. Picked up by McInerney. Hand pass from Papley back to Cunningham. 65 from goal. Long to the hot spot now. A couple of Dockers spot each other at the drop there. McLean for the Swans. Clark to Goulden. Let's fly from 49. That preferred left boot. Superb finish. Oh, Errol. One of their highlights today, Earl Goulden, and the Swans need more of that. Freo 9-3-57, Sydney 7-2-44, 13 gone, third set here at the SCG on Grandstand AFL.
It feels like since that Braden Campbell goal only a few minutes earlier from the restart, the Swans' pressure was just really through the roof. In that passage of play, they were just at the Dockers. Their hunt for the footy and their hunt at the contest was top-notch, and it was able to put the Dockers under enough pressure as they tried to exit the defensive 50. Quick at ground level, Errol Goulden loves winning that footy in that part of the ground, and beautiful little finish on the left foot, but I feel like the pressure for the Swans really lifted in the last couple of minutes.
Well, you saw what Freo did. They couldn't exit down the line. They had to run across the face of goal. And good teams, they sweat on that and go, great, we're going to press up the ground and really make you force an error. And probably caught a little bit in two minds there, whether he does go long or chips there to Pearce, so he did struggle.
13 and a half minutes gone in the third quarter. Fremantle lead by 13 points. Back-to-back goals, though, by the Swans. Dockers win it in the middle. Brayshaw to O'Meara. And now O'Driscoll kicks to half forward looking for Walters. Just the 5 disposals for Michael Walters this afternoon. Harry Cunningham watching him closely. And he wins that contest, Cunningham, and it's a boundary throw-in just forward of the wing for the Dockers.
Tends to get those matchups every week. Harry Cunningham goes to the dangerous small forward, so always a sleepless night, he reckons, not before.
Fremantle by 13. Jackson tries to follow up himself at ground level here. Warner gathers it for the Swans. He's collected by Erasmus. The umpire says, give it to me on the wing. 9-3 plays 7-2. 13 points to break Freo's way. Jackson v McLean. Parker fires the hand pass to McInerney, who's pushed off the kick late by Walters. And now Warner to neutralise the threat of O'Driscoll back with the flight. And it's over for a throw-in between the benches on the broadcast side. 14 and a half gone. Maybe 25,000 or so here this afternoon. Back in it comes.
Fremantle have only won 2 of 15 games at the SCG since 2000. Big opportunity for them today as Jackson, with 3 goals to his name, places a strong tackle on Errol Goulden, who kicked the last goal of the game to get the margin back to 13 points. The ball up on the wing, close to the interchange gates. O'Driscoll with the tackle on Parker. An advantage paid. It was a free kick to Parker. Goulden gathered it, looking for Papley in the pocket. Well done by Walker to climb over the top of him and spoil. And we'll have a boundary throw in right half forward for Sydney. 45 out from their attacking goal.
Nothing worse, Sato, when you played, when you get a free kick and
someone takes
I used to
off.
hate it. I'll be honest, I hated it.
Dockers led by 25. Swans have kicked the past 2. Freo still looking more in control of things. Goulden receives it out of the ruck and now sets sail towards home, but it misses near side for a minor score.
That's because when you're hanging on to your spot each week and you're getting 8 to 10 touches. Everyone counts, don't they?
Oh, tell me about it.
15 and a half minutes gone. The voices of Cal Sinclair and Jason Saddington here on ABC Grandstand. That kick to find Clark didn't go the full 15, so Fremantle under pressure deep in defence. Now O'Driscoll finds space and finds Brayshaw, left half back. He's got runners. Hayden Young has it at centre half back. Ethan Hughes running off him. He has a couple of options at right half forward. One of them is Banfield. Well done by Fox to close on him. Aish was at the base of the pack and he got hands to it, but he was quickly tackled by Campbell. That's better pressure by Sydney. We'll have a ball up on the outer wing. Fremantle lead by 12 points, 16 minutes gone in the third quarter.
Probably not the best option for Freo. Yeah. Streaming through the middle, and they've kicked it out wide at half forward. Just keep going direct.
Up it goes. Jackson hits it out down towards O'Meara. Wrapped up by Warner. Worked forward by Erasmus inside 50. Banfield first pair of hands to it. Now fires it back to Young. 52 from goal. Spearing pass up the line here looking for Amos. And now Young is brought to ground by Clark. The umpire will ball up 40 out from the Fremantle goal at the Paddington end. And the Dockers get one back here. Lead by 12 points. Brayshaw, hand pass to Young, centre half forward, works it all the way back here for Jordan Clark. He can look at this big sticks from 52. It's just knocked through by Francis on the last line and minor score only. Freo back out to 13 points. 9-4 plays 7-3, 17 go on third term.
Such an interesting look for Freo when they go forward. When Darcy's off the ground and Jackson's in the ruck, it just doesn't look as dangerous. So the more time Darcy can stay on the field, allow Jackson to play forward, they just look a heap more dangerous when they're going inside 50.
Nick Blakey brings the ball back into play. Short to Cunningham. Left back pocket. Tucks the ball under his arm, plays on, kick up to the wing. Heaney found space and marked it. Been quiet so far, Isaac Heaney. Needs to get into the game for the Swans. Short to Goulden, that didn't go 15. On his right, kicks to half forward. It bounces in front of Franklin, went through his legs. Pearce was right there with him. Now gathered by Switkowski. Gets away from Blakey. Finds Brayshaw on the wing. Quick handball back to Switkowski. O'Meara, slick work from the Dockers. Now Erasmus pokes it inside 50 and finds Banfield. He'll play on to Amos and he'll kick from directly in front. Another goal for Fremantle. Beautiful ball movement from the Dockers. The margin back out to 19 points. Amos with the major.
I don't know what's happening there, Sato. They seem to be really outnumbered, the Swans, forward of the football there. But terrific transition. I probably questioned at the start of the game whether or not they overused the handball in the middle of the ground like they did last week. It came off then, but for some reason, I don't know what happened. They had a breakdown instruction, the Sydney Swans. It was a 3v1.
I think what happened was their hands were that good around the contest. The Swans defenders or players behind the ball kept coming forward and the Freo were able to just squeeze it out each time. And Cunningham was the one that got caught having to come up probably a bit too far off the contest, caught in no man's land, which allowed him to get the extra numbers over the top. So the slick handballs just probably worked their way through that Swans defence that was trying to come forward at each handball moment.
High risk, high reward football, isn't it?
Yep.
Round the ground, it's half-time in Hobart. Port Adelaide 11-7, 73 leads North Melbourne 4-4-28. You'll find full coverage on the ABC Listen app of that game. So Port by 45 points at the major break there. There's a free kick for a hold going Freo's way. Sarong to receive it. Warner was the player infringing. And it's a wide kick now for O'Meara. Plays off the hand pass to Young. Goes inside 50 here for the Dockers. Kick a little too hot for Schultz, diving with a chest mark. And now it's wrapped up 40 out from the Dockers goal, Paddington end.
Isn't it really important, Sato, when you go inside 50, if you don't mark it and it goes to ground, how important causing stoppage is?
Yep.
Darcy. That's it to O'Meara, who's been busy in the last few minutes. Ball in dispute inside 50 for Fremantle. Darcy couldn't get hands to it. Goulden does. Quick kick, finds Hayward. A chance now for the Swans on transition. Hayward has it at half-back. He'll switch it. Spot up Braden Campbell. He'll play on quickly. Go short and find the lead of Papley in front of Walker. That's been an interesting contest in Papley's 150th. Walker's done a very good job so far. Papley with just the 6 disposals. Slow to get to his feet. He's marked it on the wing, and now every single Docker is behind the football.
Still is the most dangerous player on the field from a Swans perspective to actually get them across the line in this game.
Switch back to the western side. Cunningham's kick to find McInerney on the wing. Now just as Heaney leading up now. Takes the chest mark as Heaney. 65 from goal. Needs the entry now. As Walker stands the mark. Called to play on. Heaney Sets it high towards the teeth of goal here. Needs a fly. Hickey was impeded. The big mark was taken by Darcy at fullback for the Dockers.
Played well.
He has. And that's where you normally get the impact of Isaac Kenny, when he's the one that's the inside 50 target. Instead, he's the one kicking it in at the moment. Like, he's getting some ball outside 50, but they want him the go-to target inside 50.
I'll give you that, but they've got Hickey and Franklin there at the same time.
Dockers by 19 points here. Time on now in the third term.
The twin towers of Darcy and Jackson putting on a show here at the SCG. Fremantle leading by 19 points. Jackson with 3 goals. Darcy dominating in the ruck. Hayden Young has it. Right half back. Kick up the wing to a contest is marked by Bailey Banfield. Uncontested. Slow ball movement here from the Dockers, enjoying their 19-point lead. Banfield will kick to centre half forward and find Darcy again. A minute ago he marked it in his own defensive 50. Now he's done so at centre half forward. Finds Erasmus. He wants to play on. He'll pop it up looking for Tracy. 3 Swans closed on him. Ball in dispute. Sarong with the hands to Schultz. He kicks from just outside the goal square. Another one for Fremantle. His second after the slick handball from Sarong. Lockie Schultz puts Fremantle out to a 25-point lead.
The entry wasn't the best from Freo, but it was a 3v1 they went to. The Swans defenders all peeled off. It was Erasmus or Tracy created the contest there, brought the ball to ground, outnumbered 3v1, and the Freo Smalls joined in. Dubious little handball slash throw, but it got through. Umpire said all clear, and a nice little finish there.
Great pass
from Schultz, yep.
Terrific passage of play from Sean Darcy. He's taking the mark deep in defence. Probably not like, he's definitely a diesel tractor around the ground with kind of
very good explanation
with kind of how he goes about it. But at the same time, the work rate to get from there and then obviously cause a bit of a ruckus there at half forward. Another great mark.
Back to an equal game high, 25-point break the Dockers' way on the restart. And Rowbottom meets Erasmus head on. Ball jars free. Now Sarong. Brought to ground by Warner. Umpire says play on. Still waiting for a clearance in the middle now. It's Darcy. Who else but Big Sean? Throws up in the boot. Goes inside 50. Mark was juggled by Tracy. Not paid. And now Rowbottom meets he and Erasmus in that pack and will ball it up again at half forward for Fremantle.
And I'll tell you what's good, Sato, is when they're going inside 50, they're not allowing the Swans Smids to swoop on the footy.
Darcy down to Brayshaw. Clark wraps him up. Ball comes free. Parker tries to extract it as well here for the Swans. Sarong went through his legs. Young. Tunnel ball out into the SCG. It was O'Meara. And now Brayshaw. He can work it inside forward 50. A wobbly kick. Going up there again. Tracy was beaten by Francis this time. The Swans defence can rebound through Lloyd.
Lloyd kicks to a contest. It's Walker and Papley. Walker has not let him out of his sight here at the SCG. Having a very good game at half-back on Tom Papley. And he's 150th, just to 7 disposals, no goals, and now he's coming from the ground. Boundary throw-in, forward of the wing for the Dockers. Darcy and Hickey. Darcy wins front position again, down to O'Meara. Clean pick up by Hayden Young on the wing. Now Sarong. He's been so busy in the clinches. Another effective handball back to Brennan Cox. He's turned it over, though, to Rowbottom. Well done by Switkowski to affect that contest, though. Picked up by Brayshaw. Looking for Banfield in the pocket. It just evades him. Robbie Fox sees it over the boundary line. Left forward pocket for Fremantle, who enjoy a 25-point lead. 24 minutes gone, third quarter.
Just really getting on top with their hands around the contest at the moment, Freo. They've got a bit of time and space to either get back to their feet if they're on the ground or at least slip out a handball.
25 points is that comfort as well. Darcy out of the ruck, throws it on the boot, goes high towards the top of the square, spoiled away by Will Gould. Up goes McInerney as well. That's off hands and over for a throw-in, deep at left, full forward for the Dockers.
I think the point I was making, Sato, before, first quarter, whenever the ball hit the deck, Swans were just swooping on it, particularly in the forward half. Now they're causing a lot more stoppages. It's not pretty, but it builds pressure.
Umpire heaves it back in. Hickey and Darcy. Darcy right to the outside. Rowbottom was being held down there by number in Brayshaw. The umpire will throw it back in again. So 25 now gone in the third term. We'll preview Hawthorn Melbourne up next at the MCG. Meantime here, Freo by 25.
There's 6 minutes to go until three-quarter time. Dockers deep inside, attacking 50, 25 points up. Picked up by Braden Campbell. Just got the kick away as O'Meara was about to tackle him. Walters crashes into the pack, wins the football for Fremantle, kicks it inside 50, it tumbles end over end. Now it's off hands. Boundary throw in left forward pocket for the Dockers, who have got the Swans pinned inside their own defensive 50.
Body's tiring late in this third term. Freo still with Nat Fyfe to be subbed on. Way it comes from the ruck tap, out to Walters. O'Meara just pops it high towards the pocket. At the drop there, Banfield tangles up with Robbie Fox, and it's over for a throw-in again alongside that left behind post.
It's a fair injection to have in the game too if you're 4 goals up, and is it Nat Fyfe sitting there waiting to jump on and have some impact?
We'll toss it back in again. The ball has not left Freo's 50 for quite some time. Darcy tries to feed it down though, only as far as McInerney for the Swans, and now Warner can clear. High ball towards centre half, back with the flight though. Clark did well for the Dockers.
Showed courage.
This is what you want. Jackson and Darcy in a forward 50 together. They look very dangerous.
Clark to Aish, 60 out from the Dockers goal. Swans have flooded. Fremantle's attacking 50. Parker back there. Falls off hands to Lockie Schultz. He snapped another one. Schultz has 3. Dockers out to a 31-point lead. And the SCG is stunned.
And I think you called it, Cal, the forward 50 stoppages, how important they are, because Freo kept it in there. What it allows is their backs to set up. So when the Swans do try and exit their forward 50, Freo defenders are set up to win the ball back and get it back in. And the weight of pressure of the ball coming back in was just enough to eventually crumble. And Lockie Schultz, he's had a fantastic game himself. First quarter quiet, but from then on he was a real spark for him in the second with that energy up in the front 50. He's continued on through this quarter. Now to kick 3, he's been a massive player for Freo and a huge reason why they're 5 goals up. This is big for Freo and real trouble times for the Swans.
31 points is Fremantle's lead. Back in the middle, Hickey against Darcy. Goulden tries to win the clearance here. Feeds it to McInerney by hand. McInerney as well shrugs the tackle. Hand pass goes straight to Sean Darcy. Dockers on the overlap now. O'Meara out wide. Missed Sarong. Might work out okay though for Hughes. Now feeds Sarong running by. Skids it towards half forward now for the Dockers. Banfield has pressure coming from Blakey. Slaps it back towards Brayshaw. Tumbles it inside forward 50. Walters back with the flight. Could control it. Frederick can't gather either. Jackson does though. Hand pass wide for Banfield. Evades the tackle of Blakey. Ball still comes loose in the pocket. Now it's out of bounds for a throw in. Deliberate, says the umpire. Deliberate it was.
Looked ugly, that one.
From Banfield, and it's a Swans free kick in the right back pocket. Okay, Freo by 31. Late in this third term at the SCG.
Jager O'Meara with 10 disposals for the quarter. He's had a big impact for the Dockers in stretching out this lead to 31 points. As Francis kicks up to the wing. Brendan Cox with another spoil, picked up by McInerney. He's been busy trying to get the Swans going. Gives a handball to Rowbottom. Long kick into attack. 1-on-1, Pearce and Franklin. And Pearce beats Franklin to the football again. He is winning that contest comprehensively. Palms it over the boundary line. We'll have a boundary throw in on the juncture of the boundary and the 50 for Sydney.
And I think this is the biggest challenge for the Swans, is what is their forward line going to look like in this last quarter, because at the moment it's not working. Franklin, Sheether, McLean.
Hickey out of the ruck on the half volley here for Warner. Needs to find the hand pass out wide. Picked off by Jackson. Just sprawls it out in open space. Sheether gathered by Frederick. Lost the football. Goulden comes in here for the Swans. Advantage paid. It was a free kick and advantage paid for the Swans. Comes across half forward now. On the bounce for Hayward. Evades O'Driscoll. Comes back into the corridor for Papley. He can't control the mark either. Spills 55 from goal. Kicks back towards Campbell. Not 15 play on it. Was on the half volley anyway. He fires from 60 out. High towards the pocket. Franklin down there with Pearce. McLean's there as well for the Swans. Goes to ground. O'Driscoll sees it over the boundary line here and will throw it back in. Deep in attack for the Swans at the Randwick end, but they trail by 31 points. That's really 6 goals as we approach three-quarter time.
Boundary throw in deep in attack for the Swans. You get the feeling they need one before the three-quarter time break. If there are any chance of running over the top of Fremantle here in the last. Deep in defence, the Dockers win it back. Sarong, the handball to Walker. He's been fantastic. Kick up the wing, looking for Darcy. Just work Blakey under the football. Blakey wanted a free kick and will get one for a push. Again, Sean Darcy, but he landed awkwardly, did that, Nick Blakey. He's limping away from that contest. Blakey assessing his options. Just kick it up. Just inside 50. Hickey's there. Brendan Cox in front of him. Marks easily. And the Dockers defenders are dominating at the moment.
That's happening too many times, Sato, this quarter.
Well, they're just not getting anything from Hickey or McLean, even Buddy or Sheether, any of the tools down there.
They're up in their best and fairest last year. Cox finds Ryan and now Erasmus. Back to Luke Ryan at fullback here for the Dockers. We'll switch it back towards right half-back. Hughes in space, Marks. Now the momentum and the pace out of the game here, but Freo well in control. And Stride on the outer wing, trying to get something going here, the Dockers. Nice work from O'Driscoll. High towards half-forward. The kick wasn't nice, though. It's marked by Will Gould, who chops up at centre half-back for the Sydney Swans.
Swans try to get things going quickly. The Dockers have done well to get numbers behind the football. Luke Parker has it at centre half-back. Goes down the corridor, but that will suit the Dockers if they can win it back. Strong tackle by Brayshaw on the much bigger McLean as he was about to kick the Swans inside 50. Umpire lets play go on, so Jackson has it. He's tackled by Chad Warner, now gathered by Goulden. Can he kick another one for Sydney? Yes, he does. His second. Gee, the Swans needed that one. Margin back to 25 points, and Errol has 2.
He seems to be the one, Sato, that's getting off the chain a little bit. He's swooping around the back of those contests, hunting those receives. I think there might be a message from Freo just to maybe focus a little bit more attention on him. He hasn't had a massive impact on the first half of the game, but particularly this quarter, he seemed like the one spark that's getting the Swans back into this game, and can't allow him shots on goal because he's a terrific finisher.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that seems to be their only avenue to goal at the moment. We've seen Gordon kick a couple and Campbell midfielders. It's not coming from their forwards, and structurally, I don't know if they've got the answers with the personnel that they've got there. I've been calling for Heaney to be deep forward, but you're right, you picked it up, that they've actually got other tall forwards there. Heaney has to play a little bit higher. I just don't know structurally how they can manipulate this to be a bit more of a dangerous forward line.
25 points that margin again. Fremantle's way. Darcy competes with Hickey, follows up here. Darcy wins the clearance himself, tries to find O'Driscoll, gathered here by Campbell of the Swans, off left half back. Shows good pace. His kick up the line, though, is to a contest. Ryan tangled up there with Haywood. Parker, though, for the Swans, gets there as well. Has Goulden in support. Works it back to Braden Campbell. Local lad out of their academy. Off his preferred left side. High inside 50 here. Franklin's down there with Pearce. Buddy over the top there. Heaney does the crumbing. Competes with Hughes. Goes the fend. Chops the hand pass inboard now. Can Patley finish on the run from 35? He pulls the snap a little near to the left-hand side for a minor score. The Swans creating opportunities late in this third term. It's still Freo by 24 points as we approach three-quarter time.
Papley still searching for a goal in his 150th. They'd love another one before the three-quarter time break. Sydney, Dockers leading by 24 points. And they win it back here at centre half forward through Goulden, and he looks for a target in Clark and finds him. Off hands, he had to play on. Gets it to Haywood. His kick is across the face. Drew Foray behind. And an opportunity at a crucial stage goes begging for the Swans. Margin back to 23. They are coming at Freo late in this third term.
Yeah, and it is Errol Goulden standing up. What a quarter. Certainly what a last 15 minutes.
Why are players so scared of a set shot? You see it all the time now. Players giving it off and just looking so uncertain in that attacking zone. Opportunity for the Swans goes begging. High ball beyond offensive 50 from Walker is marked by Florence. Precious seconds left before the final change. High ball towards the teeth of goal here for the Swans. Heaney in the pack, brings it down, tries to snap, bounced off Clark, goes to snap on the left as Heaney, and floats it through for a goal. Right on the three-quarter time siren. Isaac Heaney answers the call with his second goal of the afternoon. And well, it might just spark the Swans into a last quarter fight back. Margin back to 17 points. It was as high as 31 Freo's way in that third term. Isaac Heaney with his second goal, and it's the Dockers 12-4-76. The Sydney Swans at 9-5-59 here at three-quarter time. Maybe listening right across ABC Radio, News Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and via the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
ABC Listen. Rampaging Royce Laven and H.G. Nelson.
I note that some people don't use logbooks anymore.
What?
Yeah.
They don't know cos, sine,
cosine, cosine, cotan. They're all great.
Lodging on the blind side.
Why don't they do it?
I don't know.
Hey, Royal Commission. What happened to the logbook? I loved it. I used to open it up. Could we get Volandis to drag the logbook
Kicking and screaming back into our universities?
Podcast available now on the ABC Listen app. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Francis tackled down there in the contest against Amos. Plucked free by Switkowski to Aish. Swings it across his body here for Jackson. Strong mark, top of the square. On the approach, Jackson. Pretty simple set shot this. Straight over the goal, umpire's hat. Big Luke Jackson's got 3. Tracy has some room to bounce here for Fremantle. Kicks up inside 40. Jackson's got 2 to beat. Blakey gets back there. Jackson keeps his feet at the back. On the loose ball in the pocket. He's still going, Luke Jackson. Has support there with Frederick. Gets it a hand pass to him. Frederick slams it home. The Dockers have another one. Hand pass from Papley back to Cunningham. 65 from goal. Long to the hot spot now. A couple of Dockers spot each other at the drop there. McLean to the Swans. Clark to Goulden. Let's fly from 49. That preferred left boot. Superb finish. Oh, Errol. Precious seconds left before the final change. High ball towards the teeth of goal here for the Swans. Heaney in the pack. Brings it down. Tries to snap. Bounced off Clark. Goes to snap with the left as Heaney. And floats it through for a goal. Right on the 3/4 time siren.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Season of these two sides hangs in the balance. Fremantle leads the Sydney Swans by 17 points here at the Sydney Cricket Ground at 3/4 time. Meanwhile, at Bellerive Oval in Hobart, third term underway there. Port Adelaide leads North Melbourne 11-9-75 to 5-4-34. Coverage of that game you can find on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL Extra button. Meanwhile, via ABC AFL, up next, we're all off to Hawthorn v Melbourne at the MCG. And Matt Clinch heads up our team there. Clinchy.
Springy Hawthorn's rebuild faces another big test. Melbourne at the MCG as round 9 of the AFL continues. The Hawks are second bottom of the ladder with just the one win this season, coming back against North Melbourne in round 3. So 5 losses on the trot. Luke Bruce and Changwath Jaff both return in 5 changes for the Hawks, who lost to Fremantle last week by 69 points. It's the 4th annual Emergency Services Match, an opportunity to thank those dedicated people while also raising awareness of the impact this work can have on mental health and well-being. And it was great to see the Victorian chopper for the Surf Life Saving Club out at Waverley Park during the week. 30 years on since Peter Hudson, who was there on cue, got the chopper returning to the VFL in 1973. It's also the 150th match for Sam Frost, while for Melbourne, Jacob Van Rooyen is free to play after having his sanction for striking overturned by the AFL Appeals Board. The Demons sitting second on the table, 6 wins and 2 losses, having won their last 3, and they welcome back Michael Hibbert and Charlie Spargo, while Stephen May also celebrates his 200th game. There's no late changes with James Jordan and Lockie Bramble are the subs. 16 degrees and a bit of sun out at the MCG, so look forward to bringing it to you alongside Ben Cameron, Adam Ramanaskas, Nathan Burke and Kez Peterson for the Hawks and the Demons at the MCG.
Great stuff. Thanks, Clinchy. In the meantime, the Swans close the gap. Jason Saddington and Callum Sinclair late in that third term. There is still life in this contest and life in the season. Of course, today's loser goes to 3-6. It'll be tough from there. What does this last quarter have in store for us at the SCG?
Well, Jace, it was certainly Freo all over the Sydney Swans up until about the 25-minute mark of that quarter. And there's one guy out there that I thought absolutely turned it on, Errol Goulden. He was absolutely outstanding in front of goal. Just his foot skills outside 50 at the moment are just incredible. Whenever he gets it, he's making something happen. But this is going to be the season-defining quarter, I think, for the Sydney Swans. Freo would be very disappointed with what they did in that last 5 or 6 minutes of that game. But they've got 2 guys on the bench at the moment who are going to be no impact to them, Callum Mills and Logan McDonald. Fremantle, on the other hand, they've got an injection of Nat Fyfe. Not sure when they're going to do that, but it's going to be a very, very tight last quarter. But Freo just felt like a little bit more dynamic around the ground, a lot more balance. Swans just got in that game. For me, it just felt like they left up the chance a little bit.
Yeah, 100% Cal. The quarter was all Freo, you know, the 30-point lead, 5-goal lead, going nearly pretty close into 3/4 time. It was a magnificent position for them to be into, and it was Goulden that just kicked back and allowed the Swans get into this game. And While Freo have the lead, you feel like there's still some energy here for the Swans and in the crowd.
Poppy, some news from downstairs.
Yeah, Nat Fife has been subbed on, and it looks like Neil Erasmus has gone to the back of the bench. So Nat Fife into the game for the last quarter.
There we go.
Yeah. So the other one for me, and I did talk about this through that quarter, is the Swans forward line structure.
Yeah.
You know, McLean, even Buddy, Sheether, they're not getting anything from those guys. They're not looking likely. They're not going to kick a score that's going to get the Swans across the line. It's going to be Gordon and Heaney and Papley that are going to win the game. So they need those players to be in the positions to really impact. So what John Longmire does here forward of the ball is really interesting.
Nat Fife goes in the middle here with Luke Parker standing against him. So 17 points as the Dockers lead. Into the final turn we go. Hickey competes with Darcy. Hand pass was picked off though by Lloyd. He'll send the Swans forward of halfway. High inside forward 50. Socked away here by Ryan. Just sort of volley straight up, and Clark wins it down there for his teammate Sheether. Heaney can snap from 45 out. Doesn't quite pull it back enough. It's out of bounds on the full. But the Swans with an opportunity early. No change to our score. Fremantle 12-4-76. Sydney Swans at 9-5-59.
That was the resume of the sub for Fremantle. Nat Fife, two-time Brownlow medalist, three-time All-Australian, three-time Best and Fairest winner.
And a sub.
But starting the last term in the centre as Fremantle look to win a critical game at the SCG. They're up by 17 points. Started the last, half forward, handball from Sarong, half back, for Fremantle, to Brayshaw.
Oh.
Young's kick is terrible. It misses Luke Ryan. So now we'll have a boundary throw in right next to the behind sticks. And Sydney's attacking 50. Swans kick the last two goals of the third quarter to pin the margin back to 17 points in favour of the Dockers.
Back in it comes. What do the Swans do here? Hickey tangled up with Darcy. Straight down here. Dispossessed was Papley. He tries again. Trying to work it away clear. Clark is well involved for the Swans. Dockers work it beyond defensive 50. Up goes Blakey. At the back, Banfield now for the Dockers. Walters, speaking of veterans, in support. Handball goes straight to Aaron Francis though for the Sydney Swans. Fires it back to Goulden by hand. He can pop them back inside 50. Heaney leads up from the pocket and takes the mark 50 out. Needs the entry. This will test his distance. Isaac Heaney's going back here. He may have the set shot. If nothing else, they're all converging in the goal square. So if he can back in Buddy Franklin, Tom Hickey and the like to take that big pack grab. Opportunity here for the Swans. Heaney's kick goes high towards the top of the square. Spoiled away by Darcy. Through for a minor score. And the margin is cut back to 16 the way of Fremantle. 2.5 gone final term here at the Sydney Cricket Ground.
Dangerous kick from Ryan, spoiled away from Fife. Papley on the snap. Now he's got a goal in his 150th. Here come the Swans.
Oh.
Tom Papley brings the margin back to 10 points. Dockers making mistakes at the back.
Yeah, it's just the kick in, went to Fife. It just looked like he was easily going to take a nice uncontested mark, but I think the closing speed, was it Papley that got the spoil as well? The closing speed, to just get an arm in late on Fife, he held the ball for probably close to a second. It was almost a mark. Heaney got the spoil. It was just enough to force Fife not to hold on for the ball long enough for it to be paid a mark. Spilt the ground. Papley quick to swoop. You know, we called for Heaney and Papley to be the energy down there. So far, they've been the two early stages of the last quarter.
Absolutely. I'm going to be very curious to see how Freo play this quarter. Are they going to play to save the game, or are they actually going to play to win it? It's worked by getting it in there, taking the game on, being electrifying around the contest.
Margin 10 points. Wobbly bounce, recalled. As Poppy Penny mentioned a short time ago, Neil Erasmus subbed out for Nat Fife. And former skipper, two-time Brownlow medalist, is standing Luke Parker in the middle. Clearance for Warner here of the Swans. On his left boot, tumbles it around the corner here. Papley, chest mark, second bite, pulls it in. Gets rid of Walker, goes inside forward 50. Who's leading up? Heaney's down there. It slides out wide of him. Cox keeps it alive here for the Dockers. Exits defensive 50 with his kick. Up towards the wing where Hickey takes a towering grab for Sydney.
Now the SCG's alive. Hickey with the mark on the wing. Swans doing all the attacking. The 31-point margin all of a sudden back to 10. Isn't Isaac Heaney stepping up for the Swans? They've put him in the goal square. Brendan Cox alongside him.
Sato, you called that one.
Swans switched around to the wing below the Bill O'Reilly stand. It's in the hands of Errol Goulden. Possession number 32 coming up for Goulden. He started the Swans comeback. Kicks it to Franklin at half forward. Now gathered by Heaney. Another possession. Handball back to Sheether. Pokes it inside 50. Will it sit up for Franklin over his head? Over the head of Hayward as well. And Clark just paddles it over the goal line for a rush behind. Margin back to single digits all of a sudden. Fremantle lead by 9. 4.5 minutes gone last term. Here's Brett Sprigg around the nation on Grandstand AFL.
Was at one stage 31 points the Dockers' way just before three-quarter time. Swans with some momentum. Young kicks out beyond offensive 50 here for the Dockers. Through the fingertips of Parker on the wing. Will Gould a handball out in space. Wrapped up there. Strong tackle it was from Schultz to dispossess Jake Lloyd. Ball comes free. They pile in. Now it's a free kick for a high tackle. And it will go the way of Fremantle. And Nat Fyfe, underneath all of that, gets up to take his kick. He was taken high by Fox. Freo by 9 points.
Great kick.
Fyfe was a great kick for Young. Front point of the square. Goes down the pipe now, leading up a strong grab, taken inside 50 by Tracy. And he's 30 out, only a very slight angle to the right.
Big kick for Tracy. Like, these are the ones he's got to, nail, particularly at this part of the game. Hasn't been the most dominant game for him, but I think he's been okay in creating a contest,
Marked well.
Took a great hanger in the first quarter. Mark of the year contender. He's
absolutely
just the one goal so far this afternoon. Here he is for a very important potential second. Couple of steps on the approach. Doesn't let them down. The Dockers get some more breathing space here in Sydney. They're out by 15 points. Fremantle 13-4-82. Sydney 10-7-67. 6-game final term. Grandstand AFL. Here's Jason Teddington and Callum Sinclair.
That was a big relaxer for Freo. Under the pump for the first 5 minutes of that quarter with the Swans just penetrating inside 50 over and over again to finally get the ball inside 50. I think it was their first entry of the quarter. It came from a Nat Fyfe brilliant kick into the corridor to Young. Who also is a good ball user and was able to just hit up Tracy on a nice lead. It just gives them a chance to relax now and breathe and hopefully settle into this last quarter from a Fremantle point of view.
Absolutely, and you feel like the Swans have probably got a rocket their forwards at the back end of that third quarter. They seem a lot more energised. They're causing stoppages inside their forward 50.
7-minute mark of the last quarter. Fremantle lead by 15 points, but the Swans have been coming. Picked up by Fyfe, the substitute. In the middle of the ground, snap to centre half forward now, off hands. Robbie Fox is there for Sydney, gathered by Schultz, tumbling kick to the top of the square, marked by Amos.
What a great mark.
Excellent grab from the youngster, and he can kick back-to-back goals from Fremantle. He'll attempt to do so from directly in front, 10 metres out.
Potentially 2 inside 50s, 2 goals. It's perfect for Freo, and I mean, you do wonder again, this is where the Swans underman defence, the key backs, Rampy and the McCartans, those overhead marks probably don't take place.
Pick 8 in the 2021 draft. The burgeoning talent is Jai Amos. And that is a very important goal for the Fremantle Dockers. His second, back-to-back goals for Freo, 21 points, their lead. 7.5 minutes gone in the last quarter.
It makes me really nervous, Jai Amos, when he walks in for goal. No, he's a very slow run-up, but what a terrific mark. Probably outnumbered there with Francis and Goulden coming in very heavy. Superb mark overhead from a youngster, particularly at this stage of the game.
Yeah, it's amazing the impact some subs can have. Even Nat Fyfe.
Clean, yeah.
He gets that clearance. He was set up in the last goal that they kicked as well with a beautiful pass inside. But, Fyfe getting that nice, easy clearance out of the middle. It's not a bad sub to activate in the last quarter.
21 points is the Freo lead after Jai Amos's second. Under overcast skies, the Swans can feel their season slipping away. Hickey against Darcy. The 2 first choice rucks. Hickey wins it down. Parker can't control it. Follows up now. Support from Rowan. It was socked away by Brayshaw. Parker feeds Goulden by hand. Hose it inside forward 50. Second grab, Sheether pulls it down. 52 out from goal, slightly right of centre. So Mark Sheether, who kicked his first goal in AFL footy last week. It was a sort of an awkward soccer effort, which had to go to the goal review and all the rest of it. But here he is, going right back on the runway to take a set shot. Has he got the hoof for this?
I think he does, mate. He's definitely backing himself.
They need 4 goals to overcome this Fremantle lead. Mark Sheath over the Sydney Swans. Connects from just about 60. Goes right to the goal square. Up they go. Second grab. Claimed down there by Haywood. Umpire has paid it. Has he? No. It's touched. It's going to be a ball up. Deep at right full forward for the Swans.
Jeez, he looked to have a fair bit of that, did Will Haywood. Hickey palms it down to Heaney. A snap. No one back there for Sydney. Brendan Cox is for Fremantle. He's marked it in his defensive goal square. 10-minute mark of the last. Swans need to get the next, you fear, if there are any chance of winning this game.
This is where the Swans are good, setting up really defensively, looking for an absolute repeat inside 50. Freo got nowhere to go.
They go short to Clark, and now Luke Ryan, who exits defensive 50. Not a great kick, but it might just favour Schultz. Went over his head. Sits up for Fife, though. He's tackled well by Will Gould. Got the handball free to Banfield. Swans fans wanted ball. It wasn't given. Now Lockie Schultz at right half-back. The 1-2 with Brayshaw. He's got time, Schultz, to kick to half forward. Well done by Tracy. He's marked well all afternoon.
Can't blaze away here. Needs to wait for the forward line to refill.
That's a big grab over the top of Rowbottom.
Tracy plays on now. Sets it high inside 50. Frederick's out the back. Floating up in front, though. Banfield. There's the tackle at ground level as well. Goes in hard again as Banfield. Floats the hand pass back here to Sarong. Can finish from 35. No, he misses to the left-hand side. Another minor score there for Fremantle, 14-5-89. Sydney a 10-7-67. Margin 22 the Dockers' way. 11 gone final quarter.
Sarong up to 27 disposals, 8 score involvements. A big chance to win his first All-Australian blazer if he keeps up this form. Being one of the best midfielders in 2023 so far. Fremantle lead by 22 points. Swans exit defensive 50. Off hands gathered by McInerney. Handball to McLean, and now Goulden. He's been fantastic for Sydney. His kick through the hands of Papley in the middle of the ground. Rowbottom's there though. Knocks it forward to Franklin. He's gang tackled, so the Dockers win it back. Through Brayshaw. Now Fife. O'Meara. The umpire's seen something. It's a Fremantle free kick, so advantage will be paid to Clark at centre half-back.
Flares it wide to the eastern wing. Marked in space by Banfield. Just holds it for a second. The true centre wing out of side. Now comes infield for O'Meara. O'Meara today has had 23 touches now with this kick. High towards the flank at left half forward. Spoil from Florent. Out the drop. Cunningham flips out the direction of Hickey. Dispossessed by Fife. Extracts it now, gets the hand pass off to Banfield. He can close from 40 out. From the pocket, Banfield with a superb, not quite the finish.
Fife again, really clean. Having an impact around the ground. It's been super.
Another score for Freo. Margin is 23 the Dockers' way.
Swans exit defensive 50. Sheether punches it away from Jordan Clark, who at best position. Over boundary throw in, right half forward for Fremantle.
It's obviously still plenty of time in the game, but it's an important period for Fremantle to just really take the sting out, play the game in their front half for the next 5-8 minutes, just to take time out of the game.
What a win this would be for Justin Longview's side if they can hang on. After a slow start to the season, many people were asking what the Dockers were all about in season 2023. Lots of work to do in this game and for the remainder of the year. But this would be a huge boost for them. If they can win on the SCG, 23 points the margin. 13 minutes gone in the last.
Back in it comes with a throw in. O'Meara shoved by Warner. Hand pass here off to Goulden. They pile it on Rowbottom. One here by the Dockers. Brayshaw to Sarong. Goes inside forward 50. Strong grab taken in the pocket. It was nice work by Amos to take the chest mark. Good body work on Francis. And Amos will take the set shot here from 30 out on a tough angle. He'll cross the boundary line to kick.
He's had a good game. Really, he's had a really good game. Getting shots on goal. He probably had a couple that he could have kicked earlier, but looks like a natural forward, knows his craft, can position his body well.
He's got good hands as well. Going on your goal kicking, how much you're not a fan of his approach, Cal. You're not giving him this one from the boundary.
He's kicked 3 goals in games a few times. What you call, Cal?
Yes.
Jai Amos off a couple of steps. That slow approach, it's right across the face. Up they go. It's slapped through for a minor score. He's never had more than 3 goals in a game. That was number 3 lining up for there. Dockers here by 24 points.
Swans move it quickly out of defence. They need to get going now. Out to the wing it goes. Papley Just palms it down for Heaney, who does the roving, looks for the handball back to Papley. The X factors for Sydney in the forward half combined. Heaney on his left, well done by O'Meara to cut across. Franklin at centre half forward for Sydney. And now we'll have a ball up after the Sheether tackle on Caleb Sarong. Just inside 50 for the Swans. 24 points the margin in favour of the Dockers. Umpire throws it up. Jackson with a big leap, palms it down. Goulden's trying to get hands on it. Jackson does well for the big man at the base of the pack to Sarong. Quick kick away up the wing.
Smart.
Amos just palms it down to Tracy. That was clever indeed. Another handball back to Banfield.
Has room to move now. Just dumps it high inside forward 50, out towards a 2-on-1. Fife was outnumbered at the drop though. It's snapped towards goal and it bounces through. Great work out there for the Dockers as Schultz fight on goal. That's his fourth. Lachie Schultz tumbles it through. The Dockers are out now by 30 points. 15 goal in final term. They can sense their fourth win is just about there here at the SCG on this Saturday afternoon.
It's been some game from Lachie Schultz, certainly since quarter time. We have mentioned throughout the call that he was probably the one that really got him going in that second quarter with his attack and pressure in that front half. And from off the back of that, he's managed to kick 4 goals now as well and have some real offensive pressure. He's just been a lot of energy up forward for Freo.
And you see what energy is brought, but also the energy of Nat Fyfe. You know, he's there one-on-one, draws 2 or 3 defenders because good players do that. Schultz finds a little bit of room, and what happens?
Equal career best, Lachie Schultz, 4 goals and counting.
And plenty of Sydney fans are leaving the SCG. Not the supporters in purple, though. In the Bradman stand, they are loving life, the Dockers fans. Their team leads by 30 points. 16 minutes gone in the last quarter. And they've won a free kick at centre half back to O'Meara, one of their recruits, along with Jackson. The 2 inclusions have been excellent for Fremantle this afternoon. O'Meara's kick out wide to Frederick. The Dockers go inside 50 again. Punched away from Amos. Blakey's tackled by Jackson. It spills free. Fyfe does some dirty work there. Ball trapped inside defensive 50 for the Swans. Aish has it now for Fremantle. Handball back to Frederick, who has time. Tries to get around Warner. Does so. Handball to Aish. He's caught though by Hayward. He should be caught holding the ball. For some reason that's not paid. The Swans fans so disillusioned, barely raise an appeal. Ball up just outside attacking 50 for Fremantle.
I was critical in the first quarter of Jaeger O'Meara, mainly playing as a forward. He was flat-footed. He's been very good since he spent more time in the midfield.
Sarong back inside 50 here for the Dockers, but Blakey floats across to intercepts, and then we'll swing it across the goal mouth for Campbell. And O'Driscoll coming late to him, but Campbell controls it now in the left back pocket. Just drives it beyond defensive 50 here for the Swans. That could be out of bounds on the full. Yes, indeed it is. Freo ball from just sort of halfway at right half forward. They lead by 30 points, the Dockers. This will be a famous win. And Justin Longmuir's time as coach, this is one of their best ever in the context of where they're at in this season. Walker has the ball.
Now, how about his job on Tom Papley today? Although Papley's caught him holding the ball here, Walker tried to play on. Papley's wanted a left half back, but Walker has done an excellent job on Tom Papley in his 150th. Dockers win it back now on the wing. Papley's kick was misdirected. And now McInerney goes into the back of Caleb Sarong. Possession number 31 coming up for Sarong.
He's been superb today, Sato.
Yep. He's just consistently kept turning up for them.
Clark fans it out wide to the wing. A 3-on-1 in favour of Sydney. Lloyd wins it back, looking for Sheether. On hands and knees, Sheether wins it back to Lloyd. Now kicks it to Cunningham. The Swans have to go quickly. Florent to centre half forward over the head of Ryan Clark and marked by Jordan Clark. And that just about sums up where the game is at right now. Fremantle in full control, and the Sydney Swans season, it's in disarray.
They come beyond defensive 50 here, the Dockers. Ryan to O'Driscoll at right half back in front of the old grandstands. Jackson comes up the line. He'll receive some applause here from the Freo faithful. What a game he's had this afternoon, Luke Jackson. 3 goals, pressure acts, plenty of presence all around the ball. The former Demon sets it high towards the flank. Up in front, up goes Fyfe. In fact, Amos was in there as well for the Dockers. Fyfe working at ground level, and Robbie Fox has collected. We'll board up here. 65 from the Freo goal, Randwick end.
Darcy's been brilliant in the ruck. Palms it down again. Warner tries to get something going for Sydney. Won the free kick for a hold from Fife, and those two get stuck into each other. Excitement machine in Warner. The old warrior in Fife on as the sub. It's given Fremantle something in the last. Warner looks for Franklin, who's been quiet in the middle of the ground. One back again by Jordan Clark, who's been impressive at halfback. O'Driscoll. Quick hands to Brayshaw, out to Sean Darcy. Brayshaw was caught high. Sydney starting to get frustrated now, giving away free kicks.
They're undisciplined, Sato, at the moment. They're getting frustrated, not happy where the game's sitting.
No, and they don't know what the answer is. That's the hard part for them.
Approaching time on final term, Freo by 5 goals. Brayshaw's kick, high towards half forward. Blakey takes a commanding mark over Switkowski. The Swans go forward of halfway here. Ryan Clark had the arms chopped down there by Andy Brayshaw. And leave it for now. Just a slow, considered approach. Comes infield now for Jake Lloyd. That'll be 50 as well. As Nat Fife encroached. So Jake Lloyd, the defender, will come to almost within range. 60 from goal here for the Swans, but time fast running out. You'd say this game is done. Barring a miracle here for the Sydney Swans. Jake Lloyd knows this, so he's taking the set shot. And he'll connect from right on the paint of 50 here. Lloyd gives it everything from there and wobbles it through for a goal. More of that, say the Swans fans. Freo's lead back to 24 points. 15-7-97 plays 11-7-73. 21 played final term here on ABC Sport. This is Grandstand AFL. Just quickly to update you on what's happening at Bellerive, where Port leads North Melbourne at 3/4 time by 48 points. Most of our network heading off next to Hawthorn v Melbourne at the MCG with Matt Clinch and the team.
Well, it doesn't feel like the Swans are a chance to win this game just by the energy that's out there at the moment. We're only at the 21-minute mark, 4 goals. That is possible. The energy's not there to say it's going to happen, but technically it's not game over.
No, it's certainly not, Sato. I just think they'd probably be disappointed with how they've started this quarter. I just think Freo probably, you'd think they've got the chocolates, but they can score quick, the Swans.
Poppy Penny on the boundary.
You think there's a lack of energy on the field. John Longmire certainly doesn't think so. He is up and shouting at everyone he can from the bench.
The Swans need a couple of quick ones, though, and the Dockers win it in the middle. Aish to Fife, sweeping handball to O'Meara, sweeping handball out further wide on the wing, sits up for O'Driscoll. The Dockers in space. O'Driscoll on his left. It's an ugly kick inside 50, sits up though for Walters. Now to Banfield, too much space for the Dockers inside 50, and Frederick has it. That was far too easy for Freo from the centre bounce, and Frederick will kick from 45 metres out, 45-degree angle, and this would seal it.
Yeah, well, would in the space of 45 seconds. We say there maybe still some chance for the Swans, but that quickly dissipated potentially here with this shot on goal from Frederick.
Michael Frederick. 3 goals last week against the Hawks. Noted goal kicker for Fremantle. The bright orange boots. Cloudy day at the SCG. It is shining bright though for the Dockers. A big win on the road looms for them as Frederick kicks his second. And the Dockers are out to a 30-point lead. 16-7-103. Sydney 11-7-73. And just when you thought the Swans had a pulse, Fremantle extinguish any hope.
I was pretty critical, Sato, obviously pre-game, with whether or not the handball game of Fremantle would kind of stack up on this ground. But to be honest, I think they've been superb, particularly after quarter time. They're moving the ball really, really well. I think what's happening as well, a lot of the wingmen and the outside players are really getting sucked to the contest. And a few times we've just seen those raking handballs out to the wing. And yeah, I don't know. Generally, Swans are pretty good at holding their width with their wingmen, but walking it into the inside 50s at the moment.
And I think that's what happens though when you've lost your confidence and you're trying too hard to try and win the game, and you're just trying as much as you can. You just keep getting sucked in to try and get the footy.
Dockers by 30. Gordon slips the tackle here to win the clearance. He beat Fife in the process. Goes inside forward 50 now. Sheether lurking down there with Hughes for company. It's off hands and over for a throw in alongside that left behind post. That left full forward for the Sydney Swans. 24 gone. This is a big win for Freo. A couple of big tasks to come against Geelong and Melbourne before the bye. Down here towards McLean, into Young. Dispossessed. Walker wrapped up down there by Heaney. The umpire ball up again.
Dockers leading by 30 points, 24-minute mark of the last. This will be one of the biggest win of the season with ease. The campaign that started slowly for them. Hayden Young, an up and under kick from deep in defence. He's won a free kick. It'll be down the ground. Ball in the hand of Michael Walters, the Dockers great. 9 disposals for him. His kick out to the wing is marked by Blakey, who's tried hard for Sydney at half-back. Up to Hickey at half-forward. In his first game for the season, it's been a tough one for him up against the irrepressible Sean Darcy. Kick inside 50 for the Swans. Rowbottom with the smother from the Young kick. Rowbottom now with the handball back to Warner. Gets around Frederick. Snaps on goal. Chad Warner just misses to the near side through for a behind. Fremantle lead by 29 points. 25 minutes gone in the last term.
And there's a really interesting space for the Swans off the back of this game today. Is what's next for them? How do they pick themselves up? How do they get their season going? Because it's slipping away very quickly. Is it just cattle, and when can they get them back, or is there more going on? With what's happening around the field.
Yeah, they've got North Melbourne next week, so you'd think they'd win that regardless. That's at Docklands. High ball towards the wing, or as the spoil comes from Blakey, it's off for a throw-in. Over for a throw-in. So I'm not prepared to make the same call, I suppose, on them being 3 and 6. It is tough from there, no question. But as far as their next few games, there are winnable opportunities in there as well. But injuries are a concern, and they're just lacking polish all over the park at the moment, the Sydney Swans. Socket forward here by Schultz, who follows up, and he's king for deliberate.
Cal, all we hear from John Longmire is week by week, and that's all the focus. Behind closed doors, what would he be saying in a situation like this?
Well, I think he'd be pretty hard on the playing group at the moment. I'll chat to you when we...
Goulden flares it across the ground here. Frederick through the air beats Campbell. Warner comes late here at ground level. Out in space, won by Tracy. Easily breaks the tackle of Warner. Back to Frederick. They'll share it around again. Clark, the former Cat, comes infield now for Andy Brayshaw.
You can't just look at the playing group also. You've got to assess the game style and how you're playing. Players in their roles. Yes, injuries haven't been probably kind to them this season, but I probably thought they'd be a little bit more advanced to where they are.
29,000 here at the SCG. Not enjoyed their day out at the footy unless they're a Dockers fan. There's a few of them around. Big win for Justin Longmuir's side coming up. Ball goes over the boundary line, left forward pocket for Fremantle. The Swans need to alter their goals, you say, from being, you think, a flag contender to now a team that just needs to try and find a way to scrape into the 8. And that is not a position they thought they would be in at this stage of the campaign. Brayshaw has it. Left half forward for Fremantle. Handball back to Young. Another high kick from him. Walters with the mark. Crashed into that pack. Did Michael Walters, and with plenty of courage, he's taken the grab, left forward pocket. This won't suit the left footer, but he's got plenty of talent, as we know, Michael Walters, across his 210 AFL games.
That's pretty deflating, Sato, for the opposition. That was a terrific mark going back at the fly. At the 27-minute mark, the game is well and truly sealed.
5-time leading goal kicker for Fremantle, Michael Walters. Wouldn't this put an exclamation mark on the Fremantle Dockers win? Left forward pocket, he'll snap it on his right. Won't quite get the distance. Same as with the push on Francis, and Francis wins the free kick in the goal square. Dockers, though, lead by 29 points, and they will win their 4th game of the season.
Yeah, and they look back on track. Big win against Hawthorn last week. Really strong win here today, which didn't look likely at quarter time, but they've been very impressive since then.
Up the pipe, strong grab taken by Warner. The back edge of the square. Chips it over the top here to Goulden. Possession number 39 coming up for him, so it's another career best. Back-to-back weeks, going inside 50. Heaney in the contest down there with Ryan. At the drop, Brayshaw plucks it away here. Hand pass to Aish. Little 1-2 now with O'Meara. Now Aish can just burst on by the western side and nurses that ball up the boundary line for Tracy. 28.5 played. Freo here by 29 points. 16-7 plays 11-8.
Errol Goulden's been a shining light on a dark day for the Sydney Swans. Sarong gathers it. He's been brilliant for the Dockers at half forward. Has Luke Jackson. Didn't he set them up early? Bounces off a would-be tackle. Sarong on his left to Schultz. Schultz is looking for another goal. Can't get free of the Florin tackle. He's caught holding the ball. But Lockie Schultz has done plenty for the Dockers already. He's kicked 4. He was looking for a fifth in party time. He was tackled well by Florin inside defensive 50.
Here's Lloyd. In the Swans defensive zone. Short kick to Rowbottom. Dummies the hand pass and he holds it for a moment. In the dying seconds of this game. Rowbottom stumps it high inside forward 50. Out there with 2-on-2. Franklin's at the back. Out in space. Walker gives chase. Leaves it behind there, in fact, for Frederick. As Walker had Papley chasing alongside him. Frederick's hit goes to turnover straight to Cunningham. 55 from goal. Pops it inside 50 and Papley will mark 40 out on a 45-degree angle. Or perhaps slightly better than that. An opportunity with his 150th to add a second goal. It's all consolation here for the Sydney Swans.
I think he's had a pretty good day, I think, on Tom Papley. Yep. You can tell he's obviously been wound up all week to have the job on him, and to keep him very quiet. It's very tough for an entire game because you know what he can do.
Both of his grandfathers played for South Melbourne, so he's got red and white in his blood there, Tom Papley. And it goes through for his second in the dying seconds here at the SCG. Cuts the margin back to 23 points Freo's way. 16-7 plays 12-8. As we're off to Hawthorn, Melbourne next for most of us. Otherwise, we'll return you to the NRL for those listening on the ACT local radio band, or indeed back to regular news radio programming in New South Wales, through News Radio across the ABC. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's been a good performance from Freo, and I think when you look at contributors around the park, for them, obviously, in that second quarter, it was Luke Jackson that really got them going. Him and Darcy at half-time, they're probably the best two players on the field. As the big men just having dominance around the ground. And Sarong's just been obviously hugely consistent throughout the game for Freo in the middle.
Dockers up by 23 points. Final seconds of this contest here at the SCG. Parker, the high up and under, inside 50. Hayden McLean has marked it. So a couple of late consolation goals coming up potentially for Sydney, but the Swans are in a rut. The Dockers season is up and running as the final siren goes. A heave-ho indeed for Justin Longmuir's side and their hopes in season 2023, winning at the SCG. Hayden McLean, though, will kick after the siren with the chance to peg the margin back to 17 points. The Dockers players, though, embrace each other. High fives and hugs inside their defensive 50 as they watch Hayden McLean have a kick on goal. Sydney Swans players asking where to now for their campaign. As McLean saunters in and has managed to kick a major. For the final margin, 17 points. But the Dockers triumphant on the road here in Sydney. And all of a sudden, their hopes of making the finals have been given a massive kickstart.
4 goals for Lockie Schultz, 3 for Luke Jackson, 2 for Joe Amos, Josh Tracy and Michael Frederick. Singles to Banfield, Hughes and Switkowski. Meanwhile, for the Sydney Swans, a couple of goals each for Papley and Goulden. Heaney kicked a couple as well. Singles to Lloyd, McDonald, Campbell, Fox, Rowbottom, McInerney and Hayden McLean there at the end as well. Final margin 17 points. We're off to Hawthorn, Melbourne shortly at the MCG. Otherwise, through local radio ACT off the NRL coverage, which is South and West Tigers, the remainder of that, and New South Wales News Radio back to regular programming there as well. A quick thought from Callum Sinclair and Jason Staddington.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it was a different story for the Fremantle Dockers after quarter time. I think we were really worried about how they started that game, but full credit to their response for the remaining 3 quarters. Definitely didn't deserve to lose that game after quarter time, but where the game was won for me was in the stoppage game. 55 hit outs to 29, 49 clearances to 36, but centre bounce 20-9. Thought Luke Jackson and Sean Darcy were absolutely outstanding, and just thought the contributors all across the ground, Sado, you mentioned it before, the contributors that Fremantle had over the entire ground really outweighed the Swans and their personnel. So I'm not too sure where the Swans are at now, guys, where they're going to head, but it's going to be a tough few weeks going into that.
I've got to take it back. I'm sorry, Sato. We've got to go here. But it is a massive win. Back-to-back wins for the first time this year to really spark their season. The Swans are on the canvas, aren't they? They've got North next week, Saturday Arvo at Docklands, Fremantle at home against Geelong Saturday, which is the twilight game, or 2:30 local there in Perth, and then Melbourne the week after before the bye. So massive games. Thank you, Jason. Sorry to cut you off there at the end.
No,
I'll get your Player of the Year votes later on. We'll get some reaction from downstairs in the Freo rooms as well. Bring it to you later on. Thank you, Callum Sinclair.
Thank you, bud.
Thanks to our tech, Tegan Nichols, to our work experience extraordinaire, Josh Byrne. Bobby Penny on the boundary as well. We'll get some reaction from the Freo rooms, as she's, I'm sure, a pretty happy Freo fan. And to you, most importantly, to Craig Davis back in the studio. It's Hawthorn v Melbourne coming up at the MCG next as Grandstand AFL continues. Here it was Freo by 17 points at the SCG.